Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Sign in for 3 years, starting from Capturing the Goddess. Chapter 41. Furukawa was also extremely shocked. He couldn't believe it. He quickly took over Ning Luo's medicine pill and watched it carefully. That's right, what Ning Luo refines is indeed the third-rank medicine pill Guyuan Dan. Although he can refer to the same level of medicine pill as a deer, but now on a different level medicine pill, even he cannot speak nonsense in this regard. Moreover, Yun Yun is here now. Although Yun Yun is not a pharmacist, she has eaten a lot of Guyuan pills, so she knows Guyuan pills, so Yun Yun can tell that what Ning Luo is refining is Guyuan pills. Guyuan pill has the effect of consolidating the essence of the body, whether it is a fighter, a master, or a master, it can be taken. So now, even if it is Furukawa, one cannot refer to a deer as a horse. Furukawa sighed and said, I declare that Ning Luo is victorious. At this moment, Lu Ling couldn't believe all this. He was stunned in place, as if stupid, his eyes were dull. He has worked so hard, but why is he not Ning Luo's opponent? Ning Luo is only 14 or 5 years old. Why can he refine the third-rank medicine pill? How is this possible? How can it be? The third-rank medicine pill can only be refined by the third-rank medicine pill. In fact, Ning Luo could barely refine the third-rank medicine pill before, but he was not proficient. Today, Ning Luo is the master, in order to prove himself, so he refined the third-rank medicine pill, not second-rank medicine pill. In fact, he can refine the best medicine pill by refining the second-rank medicine pill with his refining skills, but even if it is the best medicine pill, he cannot win when Furukawa refers to the deer as a horse. So instead of refining the second-rank medicine pill, it is better to risk refining the third-rank medicine pill, so that even Furukawa cannot conceal the fact of his victory. Yun Yun looked at Ning Luo with some surprise. She knew that Furukawa did not really teach Ning Luo alchemy, but Ning Luo was able to have such a high level of refining medicine by self-study. She was completely Ning Luo, the result of my own efforts. Now she understood that even without Furukawa, Ning Luo could become a powerful alchemist. Moreover, with Ning Luo's talent, within a few years, he will surely surpass Furukawa and become the youngest 6th-rank alchemist in the Jama Empire. At this moment, Yun Yun looked at Ning Luo with satisfaction. She was really happy for Ning Luo. Ning Luo won the game, then looked at Lu Ling, coldly said, Lu Ling, you lost, now is the time for you to fulfill your promise. Ning Luo had a bet with Lu Ling before. Ning Luo lost and left Yunlanzong, but if Lu Ling lost, he had to kneel in front of Ning Luo and kowtow to admit his mistake. Ning Luo never forgot this. Now even Lu Ling's master admitted that Lu Ling had lost, and Ning Luo asked him to kowtow to apologize. Lu Ling stared at Ning Luo and said, I didn't lose, how could I lose? It must be you cheating. Yes, it is you cheating that can beat me. Lu Ling pointed to Ning Luo. Ning Luo looked at Lu Ling coldly, and sneered, so, do you want to go back? Are you not ready to honor your promise? You promise, want me to kowtow to you, who do you think you are? Lu Ling said sharply. At this moment, a powerful pressure suddenly came down. Bang! With a loud noise, Lu Ling knelt directly on the ground. Moreover, not only Lu Ling, but also Furukawa were kneeling on the ground. At this moment, even Ning Luo was a little surprised, who made them kneel. I have lost the test with my Yunlanzong, and if I haven't fulfilled my promise, I really think my Yunlanzong is easy to bully. A voice sounded in the sky. Hearing this voice, everyone looked into the sky. A figure in white clothes slowly fell, falling in front of Furuhe and Lu Ling. The visitor is not someone else, but the former sect leader of Yunlanzong Yunshin. Yunshin slowly fell to the ground. At this moment, Furukawa was shocked. Isn't Yunshin being closed-door training? How could it be possible to leave now? No matter who it is, he never expected Yunshin to leave the customs at this time. Even Yunshin's apprentice, Yun Yun, had never thought of such a thing. She knows that the master is currently cultivating, and it is generally impossible to leave the customs, but this time she leaves the customs and comes to the Furukawa mansion after leaving the customs. This is definitely not easy. Ning Luo is the treasure of their Yunlan sect, and if he is cultivated, it will also be of great benefit to the future Yunlan sect. Ning Luo is the treasure of their Yunlanzong. They must take good care of him. Isn't Furukawa a 6th-rank pharmacist? Compared with Ning Luo, it's just a fart. Yunshin looked at Furukawa and Lu Ling, who were kneeling on the ground coldly, and said coldly, Furukawa, if you are willing to gamble, do you not afford to play? Or is it that Yunlanzong is so bully? Furukawa knelt on the ground, trembling all over. Yunshin is a Duzong. He is just a Duwong. Yunshin crushes his 2 realms. If Yunshin wants to kill him, it is just a matter of moving his fingers. In front of Yunshin, he has no resistance ability. You are merciful, we knew it was wrong. Furukawa hurriedly lowered his head and said on his knees. Then, facing Lu Ling, he sternly reprimanded, Lu Ling, hurry up and apologize to Ning Luo. Lu Ling raised his head to look at Furukawa, and shouted, Master. Lu Ling was unwilling to apologize. Snapped. With a crisp sound, Furukawa slapped his face with a big mouth. Citizen, do you want to die? Quickly apologize to Ning Luo. Furukawa said sharply. Lu Ling looked at the master in surprise. He didn't expect the master to hit him. You know, Furukawa had never hit him before, but now, the master hit him. However, he understands that he does not apologize, not only to die, but also to cause his master to die together. He climbed up to Ning Luo's front and kowtowed towards Ning Luo, I'm sorry. Ning Luo looked at him coldly, without saying anything, turning to Master and said, Master, Yan Ran, let's go, our goal has been achieved. At this moment, Yun Yun looked at Ning Luo, feeling a little touched in her heart, but she didn't show her emotions on her face, who was not good at expressing emotions, she just responded indifferently, okay. Back to Yunlanzong, Yunshin went back to Haoshan and went to closed-door training. But Ning Luo, Yun Yun, and Nalan Yanran resumed their daily life, cultivating and sleeping every day. As time passed day by day, Ning Luo also grew up happily day by day. Therefore, Ning Luo spent a few months cultivating in the Yunlan sect, and it has been a year since Ning Luo came to this world. Now Ning Luo has the strength of a 5-star fighter, but Ning Luo knows that this strength is far from enough in the world of Duki continent. Ning Luo has grown several centimeters taller, and now Ning Luo is about 1.8 meters tall. He is a man of 7 feet. Nalan Yanran also became more and more beautiful, especially under the nourishment of Ning Luo, and developed more and more in the direction of fullness. A few days later, Yun Yun took Ning Luo to the magical beasts forest to practice. Yun Yun knows very well that Ning Luo's talent is very powerful. Such a good talent can't be wasted in this way. Therefore, she must teach Ning Luo well. She is ready to take Ning Luo into the depths of the magical beasts forest and let Ning Luo see some powerful magical beasts. The master and apprentice packed up and saluted, and then walked towards the depths of the magical beasts mountain range. The dense jungle, quiet and serene, occasionally a few small beasts jumped by from the forest, startled the flock of birds resting on the branches. The magical beasts forest is very quiet now. Ning Luo and Yun Yun are walking in the magical beasts mountain range. The two have reached the depths of the magical beasts mountain range. Ning Luo followed Yun Yun and looked at the master's back, very happy in her heart. Yun Yun smiled lightly, and then led Ning Luo towards the depths of the magical beasts forest. They walked for a long time, but they still didn't find magical beasts with the lightning attribute. Magical beasts with the lightning attribute is indeed a rare magical beasts. They walked most of the magical beasts forest, and none of them found the magical beasts with the lightning attribute. It was getting late, and they couldn't keep looking, so they found a place to rest. The two were angry. Ning Luo went to catch a rabbit to roast. Yun Yun is a strong fighting emperor. In fact, she doesn't need to eat at all. Ning Luo also has big udan, so she doesn't need to eat. But finally came to the forest, greedy insects, and naturally wanted to eat some game. Ning Luo cooked the rabbit. At this time, the moon had come out, the moon was bright and the eyebrows were bright, and the moon shadow was faint. The two sat by the fire. Ning Luo divided half of them to Yun Yun. Yun Yun knew that Ning Luo's roast was delicious, so she accepted it. Yun Yun ate the rabbit and looked at Ning Luo and asked, Xiao Luo, where did you learn the cooking technology from? Ning Luo's cooking technology is of course learned from the 21st century. In the 21st century, most boys can cook. Although he is not a chef, he can still cook some home-cooked dishes, so when he came to the mainland of vindictiveness, he can also handle some simple ingredients. But I have to say that the food on the Duki continent is really not delicious, even if it is from the ancients, it is not particularly delicious, so in comparison, the food Ning Luo made is delicious. Ning Luo quickly smiled and said, my father used to be a cook, and he taught me how to cook it. It's not easy for you to cook for such a small child. Yun Yun smiled. Is it delicious, master? Ning Luo asked quickly. It's delicious. Yun Yun smiled lightly. After that, I will cook it for you every day. Ning Luo said. Good. At this time, Ning Luo looked at Yun Yun and said, Master, thank you. Thank me for what? Yun Yun puzzled. Ning Luo smiled and said, Master, when I went down the mountain last time, didn't you give me a soft armor? If it weren't for the protection of the soft armor, I would be in danger. After Ning Luo finished speaking, Yun Yun's face suddenly turned red. That is Yun Yun's soft armor. It is equivalent to the underwear of Yun Yun. Because he was worried about Ning Luo's safety, Yun Yun would give Ning Luo the soft armor. Speaking of it now, Yun Yun's face naturally became flushed. Isn't it right for the master to equip the disciple? Yun Yun said immediately. At this time, Ning Luo smiled and said, above the soft armor, I can smell the master's smell, it's very fragrant. As soon as this remark came out, Yun Yunchao's face blushed. Xiao Luo, what are you talking about? It's just a piece of equipment, how can it taste like a teacher? Yun Yun said. Ning Luo smiled and said, Master, wouldn't that soft armor be your body? As soon as this remark came out, Yun Yun was shocked. Xiao Luo, don't talk nonsense. At this time, the two had eaten and drank enough. Ning Luo looked at Yun Yun and said, Master, can I sleep with you? Yun Yun looked at Ning Luo and finally nodded. I saw Ning Luo leaning on Yun Yun's fragrant shoulder. Ding, lean on Yun Yun and get a chance to sign in. Ning Luo slowly leaned down slowly. Ding, get a chance to sign in. Finally, Ning Luo leaned on Master's long legs. Master Yun Yun's long legs seemed to be even more beautiful than Xiao Yu's. Yun Yun didn't wear tights on her legs, Ning Luo leaned on them, very comfortable. Ding, Yun Yun's knee pillow, got a chance to sign in. Yun Yun looked at Ning Luo in her arms, her eyes gradually blurred. She gently lifted the hair of Ning Luo's face, smiled and said, Xiao Luo, if you weren't my apprentice, that would be great. Ning Luo fell asleep. That night, Ning Luo slept very comfortably on Yun Yun's smooth thighs. The next day, Ning Luo woke up slowly. At this time, I saw him still lying on Yun Yun's lap. Yun Yun also leaned on a tree, slowly falling asleep. Seeing Ning Luo open his eyes. At this time, Yun Yun smiled at the corner of her mouth and said, Xiao Luo, are you awake? Master, I have been leaning all night, your legs must be numb. Or, I will rub it for you. Ning Luo said with a smile. Little pervert, every serious one. Yun Yun knocked on Ning Luo's head. Just as they spoke, they suddenly saw a white light flashing in the forest. At this time, Yun Yun immediately stood up vigilantly, looked at Bai Guang, and exclaimed, That's Xiao Luo, do you remember that there is magical beasts, a thunder attribute, which is very fast, very agile, and likes to shuttle in the dark? Yun Yun asked quickly. Master, do you mean that the lightning wolf flashed by just now? Ning Luo asked quickly. Ning Luo's medicine refining encyclopedia not only records medicinal materials, but also magical beasts. Because magical beasts have magic cores, which are also necessary items for refining medicines, Ning Luo can also inquire about them from the encyclopedia. Kind of magical beasts. Yes, the lightning wolf that flashed by just now is very likely, let's chase after. Yun Yun said, directly fighting Qi Wei. Xiao Luo, hold me. Yun Yun said quickly. Ning Luo didn't react. Hold me, we are too slow from the ground, chasing from the sky. Yun Yun said. Ning Luo nodded quickly, and then hugged Master's slender waist. Yun Yun took Ning Luo to fly, and the two went to the sky. The lightning wolf also has a characteristic, that is, when it runs, it will carry lightning. And the lightning is in the dark, it will be invisible. Therefore, as long as it runs, it will naturally expose its position. Ning Luo held Yun Yun's slender waist. At this time, a scent of fragrance radiated from Yun Yun's body, and Ning Luo's old face blushed, and it was placed on Yun Yun's belly. Yun Yun took Ning Luo to fly. She looked at the location of the lightning wolf, and suddenly accelerated. Ning Luo was afraid of falling, so she could only hold Yun Yun's waist tightly. Yun Yun is worthy of being a strong fighting emperor, very fast, and soon she found the location of the lightning wolf. Hold tight, Yun Yun said, suddenly speeding up. After just a few breaths, Yun Yun swooped down directly from the sky, and suddenly came to the front of lightning wolf. At this moment, Ning Luo and Yun Yun finally saw the full picture of lightning wolf. The lightning wolf is not very big, about the size of a dog, with silver-white fur all over, and a hint of white light on his forehead. According to its appearance and size, this lightning wolf should be a tier 3 magical beast. Seeing Ning Luo and Yun Yun, it seemed to perceive the danger and grinned, showing a ferocious expression. Okay, Xiao Luo, let me teach you next, I will stop it for you. Yun Yun said. The speed of the lightning wolf is very fast, even at the speed of Ning Luo, it is somewhat difficult to catch up with the third-order lightning wolf. Therefore, Yun Yun defended Ning Luo's retreat from the lightning wolf, and Ning Luo took the lead. This was a relatively safe method. Good, Ning Luo said. As soon as Deng Yun stepped away, he rushed up. Although the lightning wolf is fast, his power is not great, so Ji Yu can deal with it completely. I saw that Ning Luo came to the lightning wolf in an instant. At this time, the lightning from the lightning wolf's forehead instantly attacked Ning Luo, releasing a bolt of lightning and falling on Ning Luo's body. He came to the lightning wolf in an instant. Knowing that the lightning wolf was invincible, he turned and left. At this moment, Yun Yun instantly blocked the lightning wolf's retreat, and the lightning wolf could not go. At the next moment, Ning Luo had already arrived in front of the lightning wolf, and a group of scarlet flames ignited with his right hand, which fell from the sky. Boom! Saw Ning Luo punch the lightning wolf on the head. With a loud noise, the lightning wolf was scorched and flew out. They successfully killed the lightning wolf. Xiao Luo, go get the magic core. Yun Yun smiled. But at this moment, a terrifying pressure suddenly appeared in the sky, and that kind of pressure was comparable to that of Yun Yun. When they looked back, they saw a huge lightning wolf standing behind them, tens of meters high, like a hill, looking at Ning Luo and Yun Yun with gloomy eyes. The huge body of the Wolf King stood behind Ning Luo and Yun Yun, and behind the Wolf King was a huge round moon. The body of the Wolf King was like a hill, very huge, and 1 foot could cover half of Ning Luo's sky. That is, Ning Luo exclaimed. No, that's the Lightning Wolf King, we killed it before, and it's probably his cub. Yun Yun said quickly. Stupid humans, you killed my son, and I want you to pay for it. The Lightning Wolf King roared, his voice suddenly shook out, and the birds and beasts dispersed. I was able to vomit. Ning Luo was shocked. Talking, it means that this Wolf King cultivation base is above the 6th order magical beasts, and the 6th order magical beasts are comparable to those who come to fight the Emperor. Ning Luo, you back. As Yun Yun said, she flew into the sky, offering a cyan long sword in her hand, looking at the Lightning Wolf King. They killed the child of the Lightning Wolf King, so they knew that this battle was inevitable. Humans, you were right. I am a tier 6 magical beasts, and I am about to advance to tier 7, but you are killing my son now. I must tear you apart. Lightning Wolf King roared. Yun Yun was suspended in the sky, and the cyan vindictiveness was immediately released. Above the sky, a huge cyan tornado storm, between Yun Yun's wave of hands, carrying the violent wind and howling sound, swept away frantically at the Lightning Wolf King. Where the storm passed, the forest below was all pulled into a loess land, and many magical beasts rushed out of it. Looking at the storm that was sweeping over, the Lightning Wolf King's huge mouth let out a roaring hum, and his wings flicked. The huge white electric light on the body was also separated from the body. Out, and then rammed away against the storm. Lightning collided in the air, and at the moment of the collision, the space was almost silent. Boom! A thunder blasted out of thin air on the clear sky. The storm and the electric light collided fiercely, madly releasing terrifying energy from each other. At the intersection of the two, the space seemed to be rippling slightly. Boom! After a stalemate between the storm and the electric light for a few minutes, they were finally annihilated out of thin air because of the exhaustion of their energy. When the storm and the electric light dissipated, the Yun Yun standing still in the sky finally moved. When the blue wing behind it fluttered, the body was turned into a touch of lightning, and it instantly passed through the energy turbulent zone, and then appeared in behind the Lightning Wolf King. The strange long sword in his hand stabs out, and on the tip of the sword, a ring of high-speed rotating wind blades is formed, like a blue ball with blades on the outside. Ding ding. The long sword slashed on the surface of the Lightning Wolf King's body with the wind blade, and a series of crisp sounds rang out in the air. However, the lightning stab of the long sword only left white marks on that layer of white crystal, and the white marks only existed for a while. It is completely dissipated. Indifferent to such an ordinary attack from the opponent, the Lightning Wolf King swung his head, and the sharp red spiral on top of his head shot out a huge white arc that was half a meter thick. The blazing white electric flame frowned Yun and Day's eyebrows. The bare hand stretched out, the wind pushes the momentum. With that sound, it fell softly and crisply. A violent cyan wind roll emerged in front of him. Then whizzed out. Resist the huge white electric flame down. Seeing that the white electricity attack is invalid. The white light in the eyes of the Lightning Wolf King suddenly flourished. Huge palm claws suddenly lifted up a gorgeous white on. Furiously smashed down at Yun. Where the palms pass. It even tore through the air barrier. A sharp sound wave. It screamed harshly in the sky. Looking at the powerful offensive of the Lightning Wolf King, Yun's cheeks were slightly solemn. Qingyi vibrated lightly behind him. A huge cyan wind shield 2 or 3 meters long condensed abruptly in front of it. Ka! The giant palm bombarded the cyan wind shield. Baiguang Dasheng room. There was a crisp click. Immediately smashed the wind shield into fragments all over the sky. Dissipated in the wind. The Lightning Wolf King strongly attacked. It was so tyrannical. Break through the opponent's defense. A low roar sounded from the Lightning Wolf King's huge mouth. Huge body twisted slightly. The violent and appalling attack speed is almost incompatible with the size of that huge land. However, even the 5-star fighter, the gap with the Lightning Wolf King is still too great. Boy, what are you talking about? You said you want to kill me. You are a fighting master, how do you kill me? The Wolf King laughed. But you killed my son, and now I want you to pay for it. As the Wolf King spoke, he took a palm shot. His palm is more than enough to deal with a 5-star fighter. At this time, Ning Luo ran the Heaven Drive You Beast Ju. The sky drives the beast to fight against magical beasts with absolute suppressing power. I saw Ning Luo roaring loudly, "Naughty animal, don't stop." In an instant, the Wolf King seemed to be under a mental attack, and stopped in an instant. However, the Wolf King is a Tier 6 magical beast after all, which is equivalent to the Emperor Do powerhouse. Even Ning Luo's heaven-defying cultivation technique can only affect it for a moment and cannot directly control it. Boy, what did you do? You can control me. After the Wolf King recovered, he was extremely shocked. Ning Luo didn't think much, and drove again. Suddenly, Ning Luo stopped the Wolf King again. The strong vindictiveness burst out from his body. At this moment, Ning Luo didn't dodge, and concentrated on his own artifact. He pointed at the Wolf King with the heavenly sword and mobilized the whole body's fighting spirit. That's right, all the grudge in his body was gathered on Ning Luo's long sword. Not only that, those vindictive spirits were constantly transformed into purple lightning, and the lightning continued to gather on the sword. Suddenly, the sky was filled with dark clouds, lightning and thunder, exactly the same as at the time of Ning Luo's transcends tribulation. A stout thunder and lightning has gathered in the sky. Die! Ning Luo shouted, and suddenly, the purple lightning on the long sword shot out. The lightning in the sky also fell. All the thunder and lightning hit the body of the Lightning Wolf King. Zzz. I only heard the sound of thunder and lightning ringing continuously, and all the electric lights appeared on the body of the Wolf King. The Wolf King was struck by thunder and lightning, and his eyes were extremely surprised. How could this be possible? The power of thunder and lightning on his body was completely suppressed by the power of thunder and lightning of the boy in front of him. How could this be possible? The endless purple thunder and lightning fell, and landed on the palm of the Wolf King's photographed hand. Boom! With a loud noise, I saw that the Wolf King's palm had exploded in half. Blood spurts. Woo! The Wolf King yelled in pain. As the Wolf King, he had never suffered such a serious injury. He did not expect that a child of a mere 2-star fighter could actually hurt himself. After Ning Luo used this strike, all the anger in his body was drained, and he didn't have any strength anymore. No matter how powerful Ning Luo is, he is just a fighting master, so he is not an opponent of Wolf King. The Wolf King is not dead yet, it is right, he is the 6th order peak magical beasts, comparable to the human fighting emperor strong. A fighting master can severely injure him is already very remarkable, how could it be killed? Wow boy, I didn't expect you to hurt me. If you let you grow up, I would be a little bit jealous, so go to hell. The Wolf King saw that Ning Luo is so strong now. If he is given time to grow, he will definitely be able to grow up in the future. Kill him. Therefore, it has to cut the weeds and roots. He didn't hesitate at all, and the other sole of his foot suddenly fell towards Ning Luo. Xiao Luo. Yun Yun suddenly flew out again, and saw her hands forming a seal. Suddenly, white lights continued to appear. I saw the white vindictive spirit flying in the air, constantly surging towards Yun Yun from all directions. Powerful vindictive energy immediately filled the space between heaven and earth, and white lights continued to converge on Yun Yun's head. Qing Mu Yin. Yun Yun roared loudly. Suddenly, the white grudge formed a huge mark in the sky, and it was immediately suppressed towards the Lightning Wolf King. The Lightning Wolf King was extremely surprised when he saw Yun Yun's green wood mark. At this moment, his whole body exploded with great power, and white electric arcs exploded in the air. All the electric arcs gathered together and immediately rushed towards Yun Yun. Even if the opponent is a strong fighting sect, at this moment, it will be desperate. Gathering powerful forces, the electric arc suddenly rose into the sky, colliding with Yun Yun's green wood seal. Boom! There was a loud noise. I saw the green wood seal in the sky instantly fell. The huge mark kept pressing down the arc of the Lightning Wolf King. Naughty animal, die! I saw Yun Yun press down with one hand, and immediately, a huge mark fell directly on it, and the body of the Lightning Wolf King was directly pressed on the ground by the green wood mark. Boom! With a loud noise, a huge pit appeared on the ground, and the Lightning Wolf King was crushed in the pit. Xuanfang cut. Suddenly, the white grudge formed a huge white knife in the sky, Yun Yun pointed. Suddenly, the white broadsword fell down instantly. Boom! The dust is flying, and the smoke is up to the sky. At this time, I saw the Wolf King flying out in an instant, colliding with Yun Yun. Boom! There was a loud noise. The two flew out instantly. At this time, I saw the other sole of the Wolf King's foot, which was also chopped off by Yun Yun. Yun Yun's injuries have also worsened. After all, this is the Wolf King equivalent to Do Huang. Yun Yun's injury was very serious, and she had to deal with this Wolf King immediately. Yun Yun was fighting out immediately, and she saw the long sword in her hand exuding extremely powerful light. The extreme wind, Feng Ming cut. Suddenly, Yun Yun was killed again, and endless vindictiveness surged towards the Wolf King. I cannot be reconciled. Suddenly, the Wolf King spit out blood essence and hit Yun Yun's body. Yun Yun flew out. At this time, Yun Yun was exhausted. Am I going to die like this? No, I want to protect Xiao Luo. Yun Yun wanted to fight again, but she didn't have any strength. Her body slowly flew out. At this moment, she suddenly felt a person hugging her. The thick chest made her extremely at ease. Xiao Luo. After seeing Ning Luo's figure, Yun Yun also fainted completely. Ning Luo held Yun Yun with one hand, holding the heavenly sword in his hand, and immediately swooped down towards the Wolf King. At this moment, the Wolf King was also seriously injured. I saw that Ning Luo's heavenly drive U-Beast decisively activated, imprisoning the Wolf King for a moment, and the long sword in Ning Luo's hand fell instantly. Die! The powerful light also hit the Wolf King's body, and the body of the giant wolf was instantly shattered, and the wolf's head fell instantly. Master! Ning Luo immediately took a few chi-chi pills and recovered some anger, then immediately flew up and hugged Yun Yun. At this time, Ning Luo discovered that Master's clothes had been stained red with blood. Master, rest assured, I will definitely save you. Ning Luo held his own master and flew out immediately. Yun Yun fainted, and Ning Luo took Yun Yun into a cave. Master! Ning Luo hurriedly came to Yun Yun's side. At this moment, Yun Yun hadn't woken up yet. The injury she suffered was too serious. Ning Luo quickly probed Yun Yun's pulse, only to see Yun Yun's pulse. It's not smooth. Ning Luo is a pharmacist, so of course he knows how to heal. Ning Luo immediately helped Yun Yun treat the wound. Yes, but to deal with the wound, she must untie her clothes. At this moment, Ning Luo looked at Yun Yun and wanted to save Master, which meant that he had to take off Master's clothes, but nothing but. He came to Yun Yun's face and looked at Yun Yun's undulating chest. Ning Luo blushed suddenly. Although Ning Luo had traveled here, he hadn't encountered any beautiful women before crossing, so he had no experience with this kind of thing. But in order to save the master, he can only do this. Looking at the charming curvy silhouette of the woman's back, Ning Luo slowly unloaded her shirt with a slight trembling palm, as she moved her shirt. Slowly unloading the clothes to the woman's slender waist, Ning Luo blurred the metal buckle of the inner armor, and gently untied them one by one. Unlocking the last button, Ning Luo carefully removed the inner armor from the woman's body, but he was careful enough, but when the inner armor was removed from the body, the metal scratched the wound, and she still took a few breaths of cold air. Looking at the charming curvy outline on the back of Yun Yun, Ning Luo slowly unloaded his jacket with a slight trembling palm. Ning Luo's fingers occasionally touched Yun Yun's skin when she moved her clothes. He would feel the opponent's body suddenly tighten. Ding, untie Yun Yun's clothes and get a chance to sign in. Ding, touch Yun Yun's back and get a chance to sign in. Master, don't blame me, I did this to save you. Ning Luo half closed his eyes, in fact, he could see it, half closed his eyes, that is just to lie to himself. Suddenly, Yun Yun's beautiful carcass appeared in front of Ning Luo. It's so beautiful. Ning Luo gulped his saliva. Fairy lady, gentleman is so good. I'm not greedy for master's body, I just react normally. That's right, normal response. Ning Luo lifted Yun Yun's shirt, and immediately, Yun Yun's body was exposed to Ning Luo's eyes. Ning Luo discovered that there were 5 huge claw marks on Yun Yun's body, which were shocking. Ning Luo suppressed his own evil thoughts, he knew that it was important to save the master now. See no evil, don't listen to evil. Heart Ruo Bingxin, the sky will not be shocked. Ning Luomo read the formula, gave the master medicine, and then helped the master clean up his body. As Ning Luo gently wiped, master's eyelashes trembling gently, the noble phoenix hair accessories on the top of his head were also quietly scattered. It seemed that it was less graceful and more masterful. Of laziness. After carefully cleaning the wound, Ning Luo poured more white powder from a jade bottle again. Under the stimulation of the powder, the master frowned slightly, and a low moan filled with pain in his pretty nose. Ning Luo looked at Yun Yun's back, with evil thoughts in her heart. However, even though Ning Luo is not a decent gentleman, he would not take advantage of others. Besides, this is his own master. The master treats himself so well and protects himself. How could he do such a thing while the master is in a coma? Ning Luo prescribed the medicine for the master, and then began to sign in. See if you can sign in for some medicine pill cultivation technique and so on. Sign in. Ding, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully and obtaining the heavenly cultivation technique and Chongchun recovery technique. Chongchun recovery technique. What's the use? Chongchun recovery surgery. You can use vindictive energy to recover yourself and heal others. As long as the person is not dead, you can use Chongchun recovery surgery to recover. No matter how big the injury is, it can be cured. The more serious the injury, the more grudge required. Ning Luo was shocked, this Chongchun recovery technique was really heaven-defying. Ning Luo immediately used the Chongchun recovery technique to treat the master, only to see that the master's injury was continuously healed under Ning Luo's treatment. Ning Luo was very shocked. I have to say that this Chongchun recovery technique is really heaven-defying, and the master can heal such a serious injury. However, Yun Yun hasn't woken up yet. Ning Luo immediately put on the clothes for the master. Then Ning Luo hurriedly fed the master a bone-breaking pill, a vitality pill, and an ice heart pill. In short, as long as it is an effective medicine pill, Ning Luo will feed him master once. Anyway, there is no harm in eating, so let master eat more to make up. After Ning Luo finished all this, he immediately rushed into the water in the cave and took a cold bath to get rid of the evil thoughts in his heart. Then he raised a fire and looked at the sleeping master. Yun Yun didn't know where she went when she went out, and she never came back. After a few hours, Yun Yun slowly opened his eyes and looked at Ning Luo in surprise and shouted, "Xiao Luo." Yun Yun woke up. Ning Luo quickly came to Yun Yun's face. Master, how do you feel? Ning Luo asked quickly. I feel a bit cold in my chest. Yun Yun said suddenly. What? Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. At this time, Ning Luo glanced at it, and he discovered that Master's underwear was still hanging beside him. He was too anxious just now and forgot to help Master put it on. That's it. He still wanted to rot this matter in own stomach, but now, even if he wants to hide it, he can't hide it anymore. That, Master, you are injured, Why are you hesitating? Yun Yun looked at Ning Luo strangely. At this moment, Ning Luo plucked up the courage and said in a guts, Master, you are injured. I can only save you by taking off your clothes, so I untied your clothes. I looked at Master your body, please Master also to punish. At this time, Yun Yun's pretty face suddenly appeared 2 blushes. Although she grew up this way, she had never been in love, let alone talked about men and women, and had never let anyone see her body. But now, I didn't expect to be a disciple of Own. However, Ning Luo was to save himself, which was excusable. Master, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Ning Luo said quickly. Yun Yun hurriedly said, okay, this matter is not allowed to be mentioned in the future, do you remember it? Yeah, I remember it. Ning Luo nodded quickly. Although Yun Yun was shy, he thought that Ning Luo was to save himself and that he was his master. He shouldn't think too much about himself. After thinking about it, let's forget it. However, how did my injury get better? Yun Yun asked immediately. She clearly remembered that she was injured by the Wolf King, but now, her injury has been miraculously healed. Xiao Luo, did you heal my injury? Yun Yun asked when she looked at Ning Luo. Ning Luo nodded. At this time, Yun Yun was extremely shocked. She naturally knew how serious her injury was, but now, not only her own injury has healed, but even the scars have disappeared. Although she knew that Ning Luo was extraordinary, she didn't expect Ning Luo to have such a method. Thinking of this, Yun Yun looked at Ning Luo, extremely surprised. At this time, Yun Yun suddenly thought, by the way, what about the Lightning Wolf King? Don't worry, Master, I have killed the Lightning Wolf King. Ning Luo said. As soon as this remark came out, Yun Yun looked at Ning Luo in shock, unable to believe it. That's the Lightning Wolf King, Tier 6 Wolf King, the powerhouse equivalent of Duhuang realm. Could it be that Ning Luo was really killed like this? Ning Luo took Yun Yun to the outside of the cave. At this time, I saw the huge body of the Lightning Wolf King, still lying there. Yun Yun was extremely shocked. Such a powerful Wolf King was also killed by Ning Luo. Although Ning Luo was a disciple of Own, he had no idea about Ning Luo. At that time, Master, you had heard it seriously, otherwise, I can't help it. Ning Luo said. Say here, Yun Yun was still shocked. Even if the Wolf King was injured, Ning Luo was definitely not an opponent. This is enough to show that Ning Luo is extraordinary. Xiao Luo, can you tell Master, these strengths of yours and how you made my injury heal? Yun Yun asked Ning Luo with concern. Of course Ning Luo could not say. The system is his greatest secret. Therefore, Ning Luo certainly couldn't tell the truth. Ning Luo immediately said, Master, this is my secret, I can't tell you. Seeing that Ning Luo didn't want to say anything, Yun Yun didn't ask much. Yun Yun smiled and said, this Lightning Wolf King is a treasure, so I can't waste it. Ning Luo nodded, walked over, and came to the Lightning Wolf King. I saw that he held a dagger in his hand and took out the magic core of the Lightning Wolf King. The master was right, the Lightning Wolf King was full of treasures. Even the bones of magical beasts can be made into weapons and armor, which can be sold for a lot of money. Ning Luo unloaded 8 pieces of the Lightning Wolf King, shaved off the fur on his body, and took out the bones. At this time, Ning Luo took 2 big wolf legs, came into the cave, and began to barbecue. This is the meat of Tier 6 magical beasts, it must be very delicious. Therefore, Ning Luo certainly couldn't let it go. After Ning Luo and Yun Yun finished eating the wolf meat, they started to go back. I met magical beasts of Tier 6, and this kind of experience is already very good. They must go back and cultivate themselves. The 2 returned to Yunlanzong. Ning Luo began to sign for cultivation life in Yunlanzong. Ding, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully and getting a pill of resurrection. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully and obtaining an Earth-blasting star talisman. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully and getting an immortal bone. Suddenly, the reward appeared instantly. The resurrection pill is very simple, just like its name, it can bring people back to life. The Earth-blasting star talisman, after using this spell, can emit the power of the Earth-blasting star. This power can kill a strong fighting sect. The immortal bone, I saw a bone grow out of Ning Luo's body, as long as Ning Luo had this bone, he would be immortal. Even if the physical body is destroyed, as long as this bone is left, Ning Luo can be reborn through this bone. Ning Luo looked at the things he signed in, and it seemed that he, even if he encountered a strong Dozong, would have the power to fight. Moreover, he has an immortal bone, that is to say, he is already in immortal existence. Ning Luo has been cultivating in Yunlanzong for another month. At this time, Ning Luo was already a 6-star fighter. Ning Luo knew that he couldn't stay in Yunlanzong forever, and he should go out to find strange fire or something. After all, On Yuhuohue needed strange fire. Therefore, Ning Luo and Yun Yun said goodbye, and he was ready to come out to experience and practice, because he knew that if he only knew blindly cultivation, not actual combat, even though his vindictiveness had gone up, his strength would not have been ascension. The real powerhouses are all trained in the killing. Therefore, he can't blindly hide in the Cloud Lanzong. Moreover, although his fire-devouring Ju swallows the flames, the general flame ascension is too slow. If he can find 1 or 2 different fires, his own ascension will be faster. Yun Yun finally agreed with Ning Luo's opinion and let him go out to practice. Although he knew that the Qinglian core fire was in the Tagore Desert, but the Tagore Desert was so big, Ning Luo didn't have a certain location, and looking for the Qinglian core fire was not a needle in a haystack. As for Falling Heart Yan, it is easier to find. It is in Canaan Academy, but there are many masters in Canaan College. If you steal Falling Heart Yan by yourself, isn't it just killing you? Therefore, you have to take your time with the abnormal fire. If you want to find the abnormal fire, you can use Xiaoyan and Yao Lao. Ning Luo didn't think too much about alien fire, and then walked towards Qingshan town. It's been a long time since I saw Xiaoyishan, Ning Luo missed it very much. So he crossed the magical beasts mountain range and came to Qingshan town. At this time, Qingshan town was prosperous. Ning Luo came to Qingshan town and went directly to Wanyaojai. After the last incident, Wanyaojai's men all knew Ning Luo and quickly saluted Ning Luo, the shopkeeper is good. But Ning Luo didn't find the little doctor immortal, so he asked quickly, by the way, where is the little doctor immortal? At this time, the subordinates hurriedly said, the shopkeeper, the female shopkeeper has gone out to gather medicine. Gathering herbs, who did you go with? Ning Luo asked. Don't worry about the shopkeeper, the female shopkeeper is protected by the Wolfhead mercenary group, there is absolutely no problem. The subordinate smiled. Suddenly, Ning Luo was shocked. Wolfhead mercenary group. That's the big problem. If the little doctor is following the men of the Wolfhead mercenary group, then there will definitely be a big problem. Mu Li, the young leader of the Wolfhead mercenary corps, was very greedy for the little Dr. Fairy in the original work. Later, the Wolfhead mercenary group and the little Doctor Immortal broke off because of the treasures in the cave, and the treasure in the cave has not yet been obtained, so the little Doctor Immortal may not be in danger. But Ning Luo is a person who takes precautions. Anyway, these things may happen in the future, so I don't take this opportunity to get rid of the Wolfhead mercenary group directly, leaving them no chance to take advantage of it. Lu Xuan said it well. The best way to turn an enemy into a friend is to kill all the enemies, and all the rest are your friends. So take advantage of the immediate destruction of the Wolfhead mercenary group, so as not to have any worries in the future. Therefore, no matter whether the people of the Wolfhead mercenary group were protecting the little Doctor Immortal or wanting to harm the little Doctor Immortal, Ning Luo kept them on the small book. How long have they been away? Ning Luo asked quickly. Just left. The subordinate immediately replied. Good, Ning Luo said, immediately rushed out. In the silent forest, the brigade of men and horses walked quietly, with vigilant gazes, constantly scanning the dark places in the surrounding trees, with their palms tightly holding the weapon at the waist, ready to deal with all emergencies at any time. As a veteran mercenary who has been in the Magical Beasts Mountains for many years, even though it is the first time to cooperate, they can still maintain a basic tacit understanding. With interlocking eyes, they can also identify some danger and safety signals from the opponent's eyes. Xiao Yixian straightened up slightly, and gently wiped the sweat on his forehead with the back of his hand, panting lightly, matched with the soft cheeks, it looked quite affectionate. Seeing the little Doctor Immortal showing this appearance, some of the surrounding mercenaries suddenly had the urge to carry it back to the destination, but they also knew that even if they wanted to recite it, the little Dr. Fairy would only smile and decline. When everyone's eyes converged on the little Dr. Fairy, a handsome young man walked out of the guards with a smile on his face, bowed his head and said something to the panting little Dr. Fairy. The two talked for a while. Xiao Yixian smiled and shook his head, and then continued to rush towards the front. Rejected by the little doctor, the young man didn't have the slightest irritation on his face, smiled faintly, waved his palm, and shouted, "People with wolf heads, please pay attention to me. Now I am about to enter the Magical Beasts Mountains. Don't be in the gutter. Overturned the boat." "Yes, little leader." Hearing the young man's voice, dozens of big Hans around him immediately responded in unison, and the neat tones attracted the attention of everyone, that is, even the advancing little Dr. Fairy. Also glanced back. Very satisfied with this response, the young man smiled slightly. 2 quick steps again. Walk side by side with the little Dr. Fairy. He held it very eagerly next to his body. "Mom, isn't it because his father is the head of the Wolfhead mercenary group? Does he think that he can get the heart of Xiao Yishandi with this?" said a member of Wanyaojai. "Yes, if our shopkeeper comes, we will definitely beat him all over the floor," said another subordinate. Ning Luo stayed in Qingshan town for a few months, and these subordinates became acquainted with Ning Luo. So seeing that the young head of the Wolfhead was interesting to the little doctor, they were a little bit angry. "Let's take a rest, adjust the state, and then enter the Magical Beasts mountain range," young leader Mu Li said loudly. Yes, at this time, everyone stopped to rest. At this moment, they suddenly heard the wind and grass. "Who is it?" Someone was alert. At this time, behind them, a strong child slowly walked out of the small road step by step. "Who are you?" the man from the Wolfhead mercenary group asked immediately. Ning Luo ignored them, but looked at the little Dr. Immortal and shouted, "Little Dr. Immortal." Xiao Yixian quickly turned around and saw Ning Luo, suddenly surprised. "Ning Luo, why are you here?" the little Dr. Immortal asked in surprise. "I came to see you. Mr. Yao gave you to me, you are mine, can't I see you yet?" Ning Luo smiled. "The shopkeeper, you are back." Wan Yaojai's men hurriedly said hello. At this moment, Mu Li was standing next to him, his face turned a little blue, and as soon as Ning Luo came up, he said that Xiao Yishan was his person, making him a little angry. Mu Li was angry, but now is not the time to tear his face. His face immediately changed, and he said with a smile, "Is this the little shopkeeper of Wanyaojai?" Long admiring the name. Mu Li greeted Ning Luo, but Ning Luo ignored him. He smiled, and then walked aside. Ning Luo and Xiao Yixian were intimately together. At this time, Mu Li's face became scorched and his eyes were cold. He called a subordinate. "Little leader, do we have to do something?" the subordinate asked quickly. At this time, Mu Li showed a sinister expression and coldly said, "That guy named Ning Luo dared to steal a woman from Daddy, and when he enters the Magical Beasts Forest, think of a way to kill him." "Yes," the subordinate replied repeatedly. "You can rest assured, the young leader. After entering the Magical Beasts Forest, we will be in the world. We guarantee that the kid will never return, he. Very well, if you manage at this time, the reward will be indispensable for you." Mu Li sneered. Ning Luo met the little Dr. Fairy. This time his goal is to get rid of the men of the Wolfhead mercenary group. Even if the men of the Wolfhead mercenary group are not evil for the time being, he has made up his mind to get rid of them. But now they didn't show any malicious intentions. If he killed them directly, it would be unreasonable. And after all, they were the little Dr. Immortal who had invited to protect their own. If they were resolved in front of the little Dr. Immortal, it wouldn't be justified. So Ning Luo just deliberately angered Mu Li, so that he had a reason to destroy their Wolfhead mercenary group. Outside the Magical Beasts mountain range, everything was calm. but shortly after the team entered the Magical Beasts mountain range, a small-scale Magical Beasts attack was brutally displayed in front of Ning Luo. The attacker is the three-headed First-Order Magical Beasts, named Crimson Ice Snake. This kind of Magical Beasts is quite common in the periphery of the Magical Beasts mountains. The attribute is ice, and cold poison is pregnant in the ice. If the poisoned person is not treated within half a day, the blood in the body will be frozen by cold poison until death. Magical Beasts with 3 heads and 1 order. Dangling on the tree trunk, taking advantage of the unpreparedness of the people below, it was like lightning, and it was very easy to enter the cold poison into the 3 mercenaries. Suddenly, the 3 men with pale faces like ice sculptures had cold hands and feet. Softened down. After being attacked, everyone immediately shot with anger. For a moment, the 3-headed Tier 1 magical beasts were unsurprisingly beaten to death, but after the 3-headed Tier 1 magical beasts were killed, they did not look for them. At the moment of the trace of the magic core, the mercenaries only sighed with a little regret. They killed magical beasts in the wild and returned without success at the cost of heavy casualties. It is not uncommon, so they are not too disappointed with this either. The 3 mercenaries who had caught the cold poison were quickly sent to the medicine gathering team behind the Red Ice Snake after being dealt with. After being attacked by the Red Ice Snake, the mercenary team that suffered a loss has become more cautious. However, in the Magical Beasts mountain range densely covered by magical beasts, it is obvious that they want to avoid magical beasts completely. It is impossible. The team walked less than 500 meters, and everyone was attacked by 3 waves of magical beasts. Fortunately, there were many mercenaries. At the cost of a dozen or so mercenaries, they were attacked by 3 waves of magical beasts. Beasts' attacks were all repulsed. The injured were all from the Wolfhead mercenary group. Ning Luo could have been able to save him, but when he thought of the Wolfhead, Ning Luo gave up the idea, who would save his own enemy. Everyone, this is already close to the medicine collection area. Please take a break. After walking for so long, everyone is tired. After walking a distance again, the soft and crisp sound of Xiaoyishan suddenly sounded in the quiet team. The advancing footsteps paused slightly, and the whole team stopped unanimously. Turning around, looking at the woman in the white dress with no impurities in her smile, she nodded her head very honestly. After a quick discussion, more than a dozen mercenaries were scattered around to guard, and the others sat on the spot, recovering the vigor that was consumed by rushing. Sitting on the ground, Ning Luo let out a sigh of relief, flicking his fingers, and a pale green chi pill appeared in his palm again. His eyes swept around. Ning Luo turned his head slightly, raised his head and yawned, patting his mouth with his palm, and medicine pill was also thrown into his belly without a trace. The medicine pill entered the body, and the power of the medicine evaporated quickly. Ning Luo leaned against the tree trunk and closed his eyes slightly, allowing the fast-powered replenisher to replenish the exhausted vindictive energy in the body. Because of the help of Chi pill, when Ning Luo returned to his peak state again, the surrounding mercenaries were still whispering, waiting for their physical strength to slowly recover. After murmured in his heart that medicine pill was cool, Ning Luo stood up and said that he was going to solve some urgent problems, and then slowly walked towards Shaolinzijang on the side. Ning Luo was deliberately giving Mu Li a chance. If they wanted to take the opportunity to get rid of themselves, then I'm sorry, Ning Luo has a reason to take action, and then their Wolfhead mercenary group will no longer exist. Walking into the woods, the light was dim, but this was the area that mercenaries had previously investigated, so Ning Luo didn't have to worry about being attacked by magical beasts suddenly. His eyes swept around, looking for the most suitable cultivation place. Following Ning Luo's detection, he also went deeper and deeper into the small dense forest, and once again walked for a certain distance. His dim vision suddenly brightened. I looked up and saw that I had already passed through the small dense forest. What appeared in front of me was a somewhat steep cliff. Below the cliff, there were lush green forests, which was quite beautiful. Just as Ning Luo hushed, Ning Luo felt a few breaths. Ning Luo smiled at the corner of his mouth, because he knew that Big Fish was hooked. He pulled up his pants and smiled faintly. Since you guys want to kill me and are hiding in hiding, I will give you a chance, come out. At this time, the men of the Wolfhead mercenary group came out one by one. They were holding big knives in their hands and looking at Ning Luo with cold eyes. At the forefront of the Wolfhead mercenary group, it was the young leader Mu Li. Oh, Kid, you are quite alert, how did you know we were going to do you? Mu Li looked at Ning Luo coldly. Ning Luo looked at Mu Li's arrogant appearance, and he smiled. Because this is my plan, even if you don't want to kill me, I will kill you, everyone in the Wolfhead mercenary group. Ning Luo smiled. Ha 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 ha, ridiculous, did you hear that? He said he was going to kill us. A mercenary laughed. Boy, who do you think you are, can fight our entire Wolfhead mercenary group? Mu Li also sneered. Ning Luo smiled and said, don't worry, you will know in a while, I will be the robbery of your Wolfhead mercenary group. Ning Luo pulled his mouth gloomily, looking at the rank badges of the dozen or so mercenaries swept across the chest. These more than a dozen mercenaries. The strength is around 4-star and 5-star fighters. Standing in the center with his arms folded, Mu Li looked at Ning Luo, whose complexion changed rapidly in the field, with a joking expression. Suddenly, there was a feeling of cat and mouse in his heart. He wanted to see how powerful Ning Luo's tone was. Fingers tapped his arm gently, and Mu Li smiled. He was warned by his father since he was a child that no matter who he provokes in the future, if there is a chance, he must be killed and he must not leave any chance of revenge for the other party. I admire your courage to show me hostility in this situation, but this also deepens my decision to keep you here forever. Mu Li smiled, his eyes filled with killing intent. Ning Luo raised his eyelids, and his dark eyes were also murderous. Do it, kill that kid. Mullison waved his hand and shouted coldly. Yes, hearing the order of the force, there were more than a dozen mercenaries behind him, 5 of them were immediately separated, and then they rushed toward Ning Luo with a fierce face. Boom, he glanced at the 5 mercenaries who rushed forward, Ning Luo raised his palm, and his strong energy was immediately released. Boom, with a loud noise, 5 people were directly blown up and nailed to the tree. Spit blood, directly death. At this moment, Mu Li looked at this scene in astonishment and couldn't believe it. How can this be? You know, the 5 who just went on are all 4 and 5-star fighter powerhouses. How can they be killed by him when dealing with a teenage youth? What are you realm? How could someone kill me in seconds? Mu Li looked at Ning Luo in disbelief. Ning Luo grinned, I said, I will be the robbery of your Wolfhead mercenary group, accept the trial. Give it all to me, kill him. Mu Li's face changed slightly, and he shouted anxiously. Mu Li ordered that the mercenaries who were in the turmoil quickly calmed down. The 5 mercenaries drew out the weapons from their waists and rushed towards Ning Luo, who was not far away, with fierce lights in their eyes. Boom, Ning Luo stepped out, and the strong energy burst out from the front. Several mercenaries at Chinin's strength were at the level of the 5-star fighter. If they hadn't responded in time, they were almost blown away by the energy. Go, but this is the case, the figures of a few people are also pushed to stagger. The pupils of his eyes shrank slightly, Mu Li's feet slowly spread out, blocking the narrow passage, his palms were clenched, and the light green vindictiveness gradually surged, and under the rendering of the green vindictiveness, that pair of flesh fists unexpectedly it began to gradually become a wood-like color. I'm fighting with you, Mu Li said sharply. Go to hell. Looking at Ning Luo, Mu Li sneered. Those fists, like a pair of wooden fists, glowing with green light, brought a fierce energy, and slammed at Ning Luo angrily. Go. Zon tier low-level fighting skills, hardening of the wood. With the oncoming energy, Ning Luo raised his eyes, and he could clearly see the hideousness hidden in Mu Li's eyes. That's it. In vain, I have some expectations for you. Ning Luo gently raised his hand, and suddenly, a cyan lightning shot out in an instant. Suddenly, a cyan lightning shot out sharply, hitting Mu Li's body. Boom! With a loud noise, Mu Li broke his arms directly. At this time, several of his men suddenly slew towards Ning Luo. Ning Luo smiled coldly, his cuffs were agitated, and there was tyrannical energy. Ning Luo's fist suddenly shrank. After an instant, it burst out. Boom! The muffled sound, in the passage for a long time. The 2 people who rushed up were directly beaten to death by Ning Luo. Looking at Ning Luo, who had broken his arms, Mu Li's face changed in shock. Kill him quickly, whatever the cost. A cold roar came out from Mu Li's throat. Mu Li's shout was heard. Ning Luo's mouth provoked a touch of sarcasm and sorrow, pointed at Mu Li, and his lips moved slightly. Blast. Boom. Another muffled sound suddenly sounded, but this muffled sound turned out to be heard from inside Muli's body. Puff! The energy that suddenly exploded in his body made Muli's face pale instantly, his body shook for a while, and finally a mouthful of blood spurted out. His legs were numb and he had lost consciousness. He knelt on the ground, his arms had been removed by Ning Luo, very tragic. Ning Luo didn't kill him directly, that's because Ning Luo felt it was too cheap for him to kill him like this. Ning Luo looked at the remaining mercenaries coldly, a wicked smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Die. Ning Luo pointed at them. Suddenly, a series of divine thunder fell, hitting them, and directly killed them almost instantly. In the end, there were only a few timid mercenaries left. Knowing that they were not opponents, they hurriedly came to Ning Luo and knelt down and said, "Please, let us go." Ning Luo smiled coldly, then pointed at them. 2 lightnings landed instantly, boom. With a loud noise, the 2 directly exploded with thunder and lightning, and directly annihilated. In the end, only Muli was left, and he looked at Ning Luo in pain. He remembered that Ning Luo once said that he was the robbery of their Wolfhead mercenary group. Now it seems that it is true. Even his own father, I am afraid that he is not Ning Luo's opponent. We have no grievances these days, and no hatreds in the past, why are you killing us? Muli cried. Because he remembered that Ning Luo said that even if he didn't come to them, Ning Luo would look for himself. It's nothing, it's just that you are upset. Ning Luo said lightly. Muli immediately wanted to cry without tears, and was unhappy with us, would he kill us? Are you the devil? Muli cried. No, I'm not a devil, I'm just your robbery. Ning Luo said lightly. Ning Luo slowly walked towards Muli. Muli looked at him in pain and shouted, "You! Don't come over." Ning Luo smiled at the corner of his mouth and pointed at him, "You go first, and I will send all the men of the Wolfhead mercenary group down for your funeral." With that, a flash of lightning was released. Boom! With a loud noise, Muli exploded in an instant, and disappeared. Now he has killed the young leader of the Wolfhead mercenary group, and the enmity with the Wolfhead mercenary group has been forged. Ning Luo is not a virgin. For the enemy, he understands that only by cutting grass and roots can he be relieved of worries. So next, he is going to the headquarters of the Wolfhead mercenary group and directly destroy the entire mercenary group. Ning Luo returned to the medicine gathering team. At this time, Xiao Yixian was very surprised and hurriedly asked Ning Luo about the Wolfhead mercenary group. Ning Luo told the little Doctor Immortal everything. After hearing this, the little Doctor Immortal was shocked. The leader of the Wolfhead mercenary group is a 2-star warrior. If you want revenge, you have to be careful. After Ning Luo heard this, he smiled faintly, it's just a 2-star fighting master. Now I, the fighting master, realm is invincible. Just blow it, the little Doctor Immortal said with white eyes. Although Xiao Yishan was a little worried, she believed in Ning Luo very much after such a long time together. He knew that Ning Luo was a very stable person, and there was no certainty that he would win. Ning Luo would never provoke the Wolfhead mercenary group. Yes, since he dared to kill Muli, he was prepared. Moreover, Xiao Yixian also knew Ning Luo's strength, so she wasn't particularly worried. You killed the son of the head of the Wolfhead mercenary group, what are you going to do? The little Doctor Immortal asked quickly. Ning Luo smiled and said, cut the grass without removing the roots, the spring breeze will regenerate. So, I am going to cut the weeds and roots. At this time, the little Doctor Immortal was shocked. Are you going to destroy the Wolfhead mercenary group? Yes, Ning Luo responded. Xiao Yixian looked at Ning Luo in surprise, and couldn't help worrying a little for him. At this time, Ning Luo pulled up the little doctor's hand and said, okay, don't worry, go, I will take you to a place. Where? Ning Luo pulled the little doctor fairy to the edge of the cliff. Why did you bring me here? Xiao Yishan asked quickly. Ning Luo pointed to the cliff and said, there is a cave under the cliff, and there seems to be a treasure in the cave. When Ning Luo finished killing Muli, he remembered that Xiao Yishan's colorful poison scripture seemed to be found in this place, so he explored it and found a cave, so he came back to find Xiao Yishan. At this time, the night has slowly dimmed. On the steep cliff, the shadows of the two Taoists are looming under the faint moonlight. Let's start. After taking a step forward, Ning Luo looked at the dark bottom of the mountain, turned his head and asked with a smile at the little Dr. Fairy. Nodded slightly, Xiao Yixian squatted down and picked up some dry wood on the ground, and then quickly tied it up to form 2 torches, splashed a little yellow powder on them, and then took out the fire from his arms and put it on ignite. Smiled slightly. Ning Luo tied the rope to a sturdy giant tree. After pulling vigorously again, opened his arms to the little Dr. Fairy. Come here. I have a rope myself. I don't need your help. Looking at Ning Luo's movements, Xiao Yishan immediately retreated a few steps. Pretty face flushed with shame. It has been so long, are you embarrassed? But let me remind you first. No one can guarantee that there will be no poisonous snakes under the cliff at night. Scorpions, rats, shrugged. Ning Luo smiled nonchalantly. You fool, you can't die. A black shadow hurled at Ning Luo fiercely. Ning Luo took a look at his palm. Grab it in your hands. Take a look. It turned out to be the bundle of rope in the hands of the little doctor. HMPH, you are not afraid to poison you to death. Your poison is useless to me, don't forget that my physique can suppress yours. Ning Luo smiled. Humph. As the threatening sound of the little doctor fell, a fragrant wind rushed towards Ning Luo, and immediately a soft and fragrant body. He ran into Ning Luo's arms. The soft and delicate body that smashed into his arms, as if hitting the tip of Ning Luo's heart, made his heart tremble fiercely. Xiao Yixian's face was a little red suddenly. Ning Luo smiled and said, I'm an old husband and wife, and they are still blushing. Bah, who is the old husband and wife with you? The little Doctor Immortal said immediately. Take a deep breath. Suppressing some evil fires that were about to move, Ning Luo stretched out his arm, and embraced the slender willow waist that he once praised as the best. With his arms around the soft and slender waist tightly, Ning Luo was momentarily absent. Are you still going? Just as Ning Luo was reminiscing about the softness in his arms, the little Dr. Fairy's angry voice rang in his ears. Feel sorry. Ning Luo smiled, but there was no trace of apology in the words. He once again hugged the beauty in his arms and tapped his toes on the cliff. The two of them dropped straight to the bottom of the dark cliff. The violent wind from ears blew the clothes tightly against the surface of the skin. Ning Luo hugged Xiao Yishan with his left hand, and the rope that had rotated a few times on his right hand suddenly tugged, and the figure that fell quickly was a slow one. Suspended slowly in the middle of the cliff. After taking a long breath, Ning Luo lowered his head and looked at the little Doctor Immortal who had hugged himself tightly, and couldn't help but jokingly smile. Turning his eyes around the darkness, he whispered softly, Can you tell the location of the cave? When Ning Luo asked about business matters, Xiao Yixian relieved some of the tension caused by high-altitude bungee jumping. His eyes swept around, and after a little hesitation, his slender fingers pointed to a dark place and whispered, It should be there. Quote. Looking at the fingers of the little Dr. Fairy, Ning Luo nodded slightly, and reminded him in a low voice, Hold tight. I heard Ning Luo's words. Xiao Yixian hesitated slightly. But when Ning Luo kicked his toes on the mountain wall, his figure shook wildly again. She was shocked and quickly hugged Ning Luo's waist, buried her face in the latter's arms, and dared not move. Ning Luo's toes kept moving on the mountain wall, and with the help of rope pulling force, the distance between the two of them and the cave was gradually getting closer. Throw the torch. Moving a certain distance again, Ning Luo raised his chin to the dark place not far away, and said in a deep voice. Oh. Chao Lian nodded slightly, and the little Doctor Immortal threw the flame in his hand against the dark area. The torch was thrown on the mountain wall, splashing sparks in all directions. With the help of the meager firelight, Ning Luo also vaguely saw the hidden cave not far away. Seeing that the destination was about to arrive, Ning Luo just took a sigh of relief, and his pores suddenly shrank, a warning flashed in his heart, and his toes flicked heavily on the mountain wall. Ning Luo's figure was ejected. Without the cover of trees and gravel, followed by a faint moonlight, Ning Luo and Xiao Yixian finally saw the cave left by the predecessors up close. The entrance of the cave is not wide, it can only allow 2 or 3 people to pass through. The inside of the cave is dark, but there is a faint light radiating, and it looks quite mysterious. Around the entrance of the cave, there were a lot of knife-like marks, but perhaps due to the age, these knife cuts became extremely blurred. If Ning Luo's vision was not sharp, perhaps he would really not be able to find it. Finally reached. A little excitedly smiled, Ning Luo held the little doctor immortal, with his toes on the mountain wall for the last time, and the two of them drew through the air, and finally landed steadily at the entrance of the cave. After landing, Xiao Yixian quickly broke away from Ning Luo's arms, and then looked at the entrance of the cave pretty and Hanshi. Let's go, see if you can get something, hope it won't let me down. Smiling at the little doctor fairy, Ning Luo took out the huajezi from his body, and then proceeded carefully into the dark hole first. Looking inside the dark cave, Xiao Yixian hesitated. After a while, he stomped his feet, clenched his silver teeth, and followed. Walking in the quiet and dark cave, a faint chill lingered around him, and in the quiet passage, there were only the slight footsteps of two people. The dark surroundings caused the little doctor fairy to hug each other involuntarily, and looked up at Ning Luo, who was walking slowly in front of him. He hesitated a little, and walked a few steps quickly, following him closely. In this kind of environment, only the teenager in front of her can give her a little more sense of security. After walking in such a quiet atmosphere for more than 10 minutes, just when the little doctor immortal really couldn't bear the darkness that was so quiet and maddening, the young man in front of him suddenly stopped. The body was not in a hurry, and finally hit Ning Luo's back. The two soft balls were upright. Under the pressure, they were suddenly compressed on Ning Luo's back into two soft balls. Small round ball. The close contact caused the little doctor Xian Chao to take a step back with blushing face, and said in embarrassment, "What are you doing?" "I've touched it, can't you touch it?" Ning Luo smiled. Xiao Yishan's face was reddened. The previous soft touch also caused Ning Luo to take a heavy breath and cough, pointing to a stone gate in front of him with a pale yellow light, and said helplessly, "There is no way." Hearing this, the little doctor Shandai frowned, stepped forward 2 steps, looked at Chinin, and muttered, "After Chinin, it should be our destination. Since this predecessor will cast a cave here, I thinking, he shouldn't create a situation where there is nowhere to go." Ning Luo came to Chinin and gave a strong palm. Bang! With a loud noise, Chinin exploded to pieces. "I only know how to use brute force," Xiao Yixian said. Seeing Ning Luo moving forward, Xiao Yixian followed closely. The two of them stepped into Chinin, and their eyes suddenly widened. Inside the Chinin is a huge stone chamber. The stone room looks simple and empty. On the walls, moonstones used for lighting are inlaid. In the center of the stone room, there is a seat. On the seat, a withered bone sits on it. A deep sunken skull fell on the pale thigh bones. In this quiet atmosphere, look. It's very gloomy. In front of the seat, there is a wide and long bluestone platform on one side. On the bluestone platform, 3 locked stone boxes are neatly placed. In addition, in the 3 corners of the stone room, there are piles of golden gold coins and other treasures. The number of such large gold coins may not be less than hundreds of thousands. Ning Luo does not lack treasures and money, and the original owners of these treasures also placed them at will. It seems that they also didn't take these yellow and white things too seriously, and they couldn't take them away. Away from the golden gold, Ning Luo's gaze stayed in the last corner, and a faint joy appeared on his face. In the last corner, a small flower bed was piled up with mud. In the flower bed, various flowers and plants were planted in it, and a strange fragrance filled it. Looking at these flowers and plants, Ning Luo and Xiao Yishan walked a few steps at the same time. Although others did not know these things, they knew very well that these seemingly ordinary flowers and plants, in terms of value, must be as much more valuable and real than those piles of gold coins. Purple-blue leaves, white ginseng fruit, snow lotus seeds. The beautiful eyes stared at the little flower bed blankly, and the names of the rare and hard-to-find high-grade medicinal materials popped out secretly from the little doctor's rosy mouth. Ice Spirit Flame Grass. Moving his gaze across the small flower bed, Ning Luo's pupils suddenly shrank, and finally stared at a leaf of white and red alternating white and red grass in the center of the flower bed. This grass leaf is divided into white and red. The white branches are covered with ice crystal-like objects. On the fiery red grass canopy, it is like a fire burning. The two are completely opposite. The colors and attributes are strangely growing on a plant, which is really amazing. A faint mist hovered around this plant, and it seemed to be a little bit among the clouds. This bizarre blade of grass, called Ice Spirit Flame Grass, is generally extremely difficult to find in the outside world, and this kind of medicinal herbs. It is also one of the necessary things for refining blood lotus pills. After receiving the herbs, Ning Luo's eyes moved within the stone chamber again, but this search did not yield any more results. At the moment, he had to cast his eyes on the 3 locked stone boxes on the bluestone platform. Slowly walking to the stone tabletop, Ning Luo touched the metal lock, but it was slightly warm where he started, and he couldn't help but wrinkle his brows at the moment. It can maintain the temperature after a long time. Obviously it is not ordinary metal, so the method of trying to use brute force to open the lock is somewhat unworkable. Where is the key? Muttered. Ning Luo moved his gaze, staying on the dry bone behind the stone table, moving down, but his eyes lit up, and he saw 3 black keys in the palm of the skeleton, is being suspended above the bones. After rubbing his hands, Ning Luo stepped forward, looking at the dry bone, and then folded his palms against it with a weak heart, then carefully grasped the key and gently pulled it. Gotcha. Due to the time, the withered arm was actually broken by this little force. Looking at the broken bone arm, Ning Luo smirked, bowed to the dry bone again, and then picked up the bone arm from the ground, trying to connect it. Holding the bone arm with his hand, Ning Luo suddenly raised his eyebrows. He noticed that there was something wrong with the weight of the bones in his hand. Out of the corner of his eye, he swept over the little doctor who was carefully transplanting medicinal herbs. Ning Luo secretly glanced at the bone arm in his hand, looking through the upper fracture, but it was a faint discovery. In the skeletal gap, it seemed to be hidden. Holding a small scroll. Looking at the looming primitive scroll, Ning Luo took the scroll, then tossed the black key in his hand. Ning Luo grinned and slowly walked towards the 3 stone boxes on the stone table. Ning Luo opened the stone box with the key. There were 3 scrolls in the 3 boxes. In the first scroll is the 7-color poison sutra practiced by Xiaoyi Xian. Ning Luo took the 7-color poison sutra and handed it to Xiaoyi Xian. No, this is for you, you should use it. Xiao Yixian received the poison sutra, and was shocked. Colorful poison sutra. Ning Luo nodded and said, you cultivate a virulent body, this thing should be useful. Are you not afraid that I will become an old poisonous woman by practicing? The little doctor asked Ning Luo when he looked at Ning Luo. Haha, don't forget, my physique suppresses you, even if you become an old poisonous woman, I am not afraid. Ning Luo smiled. Alright, let's look at the second box, Xiao Yishan said. Ning Luo opened the second box and picked up the scroll. Zong level advanced flight fighting skills, eagle wings. Flying fighting skills. What is it? It was also the first time I heard this name. Little Dr. Xian blinked in confusion. She had heard of attacking attacks, defensive fighting skills, movement technique fighting skills, etc., but it was the first time she heard flying fighting skills. As the name suggests, this fighting skill. It can make people fly in the sky. Ning Luo explained with an amazed smack. Flying, isn't that at least a talent that needs a strong fighting spirit to barely possess? Hearing this, the little Dr. Immortal was startled and immediately confused. On the Duqi continent, if you want to fly off the ground, only the strong above the Doling can fly a short distance, after the strength reaches the Duwang or Duhuang. Then they can use the external fighting energy to condense into energy wings behind, so that they can leave the bondage of the earth and fly into the sky. And this so-called flying combat skills. It is a rather weird secret method. This secret method allows the person who has been cultivation to extend 2 small branches in the context behind him. As long as these 2 branches extend out, then even if his own strength is not reached. At the Duwang level, it can also condense the wings and fly through the air. Flying is a temptation that is enough to make a lot of people slam their hearts, chasing this temptation for this. Many powerhouses are struggling to attack the unattainable Duwang level one after another, and under such circumstances, being able to take shortcuts in flying combat skills is naturally not low. With this flying combat skill, we will go back to dual cultivation together. Ning Luo smiled. Dual cultivation. Xiao Yishan blushed immediately. That's what we mean to practice together. Ning Luo hit the Xiao Yixian's head with a knife. What are you thinking, Xiao Nizi? Or, do you want to dual cultivation with me here? Ning Luo looked at Xiao Yishandao. This is the wilderness, isn't it? Xiao Yixian said. Ning Luo looked at this little Nizi, and saw Xiao Yixian's face blushing, the corners of her mouth curled up, and her eyes were flattering to seduce Ning Luo. Okay, Xiao Nizi, do you want to? I didn't say it, the little Doctor Immortal said immediately. Saw Ning Luo grab the little Doctor Immortal, he didn't care about the box, and kissed the little Doctor Immortal. Ning Luo, it's not good for us, there is still a corpse looking at us there. The arrow is on the string and I have to send it. Ning Luo won't stop now, he smiled and said, it's just a corpse, leave it alone. Ning Luo said, kissing the little Dr. Fairy. In front of the corpse, the two began to duel cultivation. A few hours later, the two got dressed, and there was a third box left. Let's take a look at the third box. Ning Luo opened the third box. The third box contains the advanced fighting skills of the mysterious stage, the Mad Lion Yin. The attributes are not suitable for Ning Luo and are not suitable for Xiao Yishan. Ning Luo kept it, although he can't cultivation, he can give it to others in the future. Ning Luo returned to Qingshan town with little Dr. Immortal. This time, they had gained a lot. Ning Luo also began to cultivate eagle wings. Ning Luo had a high cultivation talent in fighting skills. Soon, he learned eagle wings. Eagle wings, also known as Xian wings, in the original book, Xiaoyan started all kinds of pretenses after he was cultivated. Now Ning Luo is the first to board, hehe. Then there is no part of Xiaoyan. After Ning Luo finished his cultivation, she gave the eagle wing to the little Dr. Immortal, who is also a contender. With the eagle wings, she also has more means to save her life. After the two had studied Xianyi, both of them could fly. It's just that Xiao Yishan's cultivation base is low, she can fly, but it won't last long. In fact, in the cave, what Ning Luo gained the most was not the eagle wing fighting skills, but the remnants of the demon fire of the net lotus. Ning Luo once again took out a very simple scroll from Na Jia. Looking up and down the simple and slightly yellowed scroll, Ning Luo rubbed his hands excitedly, and was able to be hidden in the concealed place like the bone gap by the predecessor. Ning Luo remembered that this was the remnant of the Jinglian demon fire picture. Although Ning Luo had read the original work, the exact location of the Jinglian demon fire could not be known until he had collected the map. Ning Luo knew that this strange fire was powerful on this vindictive continent. He couldn't let Xiao Yan find the strange fire. Whether it is the Jinglian demon fire or the Qinglian earth heart fire, Ning Luo will be the first to make it. However, Ning Luo also knew that this was just a broken picture, and it was still somewhat difficult to collect all the pictures. Ning Luo looked back and forth carefully, and when his eyes suddenly fell on a blurry thing similar to a lotus flower in the corner of the leather paper, his face changed slightly, bent down again, observing this mysterious object in the shape of a lotus flower carefully. This lotus flower-shaped thing, perhaps because of the years, looks faintly yellowed, and also a little fuzzy, but it can still be seen roughly. The lotus flower is black, on the surface of the lotus flower. It seems that there is a thin layer of black inflammation stuck to it, and it looks seriously that the whole lotus flower actually gives people a strange feeling. The Jinglian demon fire, ranked third on the list of different fires, has the special effect of purifying all things. Anything, as long as it is stained by it, will be purified into nothingness. The power is extremely terrifying, this kind of strange fire world very rare, it seems that there are only 2 or 3 of them. In the spacious hall, Mu Shi heard the news coming from his subordinates, furiously, crushed the teacup in his hand with a palm. Roared angrily. Looking at Mu Snake who was in a rage. The upper floors of the Wolfhead in the hall were all silent. No one dared to touch his mold at this time. What? Say it again, Mu Shi hissed after taking a few heavy breaths. Everyone looked at each other, all speechless. Young Master took him out of the Wolfhead mercenary group. All members of the Wolfhead mercenary group died, and none of them survived. Looking at the silent hall, one of his subordinates had to bite the bullet. What? How could it be? Mu Shi shouted angrily with his palm slapped heavily on the table. My strength. Mu Shi slumped on the seat. Do you know who did it? Mu Shi asked sharply. At this time, his subordinates hurriedly said, I heard that the shopkeeper of Wanyaojai did it. Wanyaojai's shopkeeper, is that little Dr. Immortal? Mu Shi asked quickly. It's not Xiao Yixian, but Xiao Yixian's little boyfriend, his name is Ning Luo. The subordinate said. Ning Luo, what a Ning Luo. With his palms clenched tightly, Mu Shi's face was filled with hideous killing intent. Come on, gather my brothers, and go to Nwanyaojai with me. I want to see what this little fool is. I'm going to kill him and pay homage to my son. Mu Shi sternly said. Yes, after Xiao Yishan's cultivation, she saw Ning Luo at the door, and she sat beside Ning Luo. What are you doing? Xiao Yixian asked with his face folded. Wait for someone. Waiting for someone. Who are you waiting for? Xiao Yixian asked doubtfully. Ning Luo smiled, holding both hands and said, I killed the young leader of the Wolfhead mercenary group. Using the Wolfhead mercenary group's information network, I can definitely find out that I did it, so they will definitely come to revenge. Quote. Revenge. Then you don't want to go, right? I have to go too. Let's pack things quickly, let's go. The little Dr. Immortal said hurriedly. Ning Luo stayed at her and quickly said, Go, why are you leaving? I'm here to wait for them on purpose. I'm left to find them by myself. Are you really confident? Little Dr. Immortal asked. Of course, isn't it just a 2-star master? I can beat 10. Ning Luo boasted. Ning Luo just sat at the door of Wanyaojai and waited. At this moment, he felt the ground shaking, and a few breaths began to surge. Ning Luo knew that it should be a member of the Wolfhead mercenary group. In a short while, Hao Tang Tang, more than 100 people came to Wanyaojai. This is all the members of the Wolfhead mercenary group. Ning Luo killed the young leader of the Wolfhead mercenary group. Mu Shi was furious, so he took all the Wolfhead mercenary group and prepared to sweep Wanyaojai. He is about to kill everyone in Wanyaojai. So he took everyone from his Wolfhead mercenary group to Wanyaojai. At this time, they saw Ning Luo standing at the door of Wanyaojai looking at them. The Wolfhead mercenary group walked in front of Ning Luo. Mu Shi was walking at the forefront of the Wolfhead mercenary group. When they saw Ning Luo, Mu Shi was shocked. Because he knew that Ning Luo was a 10-year-old child, and the child in front of him was also a child about 10 years old. Isn't the child in front of him Ning Luo? Mu Shi looked at Ning Luo and asked, Boy, are you that Ning Luo? Mu Shi stared at Ning Luo with cold eyes. Ning Luo killed his son, and he wanted to smash him into pieces. Ning Luo smiled faintly. Yes, it's me. If I'm right, what kind of snake should you be? Oh, by the way, your son died in my hands. Ning Luo smiled. You, boy, I want to break your corpse into 10,000 pieces. Mu Shi shouted loudly, and he looked at Ning Luo Qingjin in a rage. At this time, He Meng, the 3rd regimental leader of the Wolfhead Mercenary Corps, stood up and shouted loudly, Captain, what nonsense with him, I will just abolish him. Mu Shi nodded. At this time, He Meng slowly stood up. Slowly spread his fists on his chest. He Meng's feet stretched, and the hair on the top of his head stood upright, and a slight pale grudge flashed quickly in his eyes. A mouthful of white gas was spit out from Herman's mouth. At this moment, Ning Luo seemed to find that Herman's hands and feet suddenly became much stronger. On the sturdy arm, the pale muscles were constantly agitating, and a fierce force quickly gathered under it. Go to hell, kid. Feeling the gushing power in his body, He Meng grinned at Ning Luo. Bai Sensen's teeth looked terrifying. Seeing He Meng, whose strength suddenly soared a lot, Ning Luo's face was slightly solemn, in his palm. Vindictive cohesion. The strength in the body entered its peak state after a moment of brewing. He Meng stepped on the sole of his foot, and the speed of the surge was actually equal to that of Ning Luo. With a gaze in front of him, He Meng, with a grinning smile on his face, flashed out, with a huge fist with an oppressive wind. He slammed Ning Luo's head fiercely. The fierce energy on the top of his head made Ning Luo's face slightly change. In his palm, the energy suddenly shot out. With the help of the reverse thrust caused by this force, Ning Luo's figure retreated violently. Want to run? Looking at Ning Luo, who was retreating in a hurry, He Meng sneered, and after a step, he chased him up. The body bowed slightly, and then, like a creeping leopard, appeared in front of Ning Luo again in the blink of an eye. Go to hell. With a grinning grin, He Meng's fist hit Ning Luo's head again. Ning Luo smiled faintly. The fighting spirit in his body also circulated swiftly, and then his fists met fiercely. Boom! 2 arcs appeared in Ning Luo's 2 punches. The left hand is white and the right hand is purple. Suddenly, the 2 fists collided. Boom! There was a loud noise. An extremely surprised expression appeared on only Himeng's face, and the big sweat suddenly fell. The third child. Mu Shi hurriedly drank. At this time, I saw Himeng's face gradually turned blue. Ning Luo, expressionless, watching him, lightly said, "Sorry, there is it." Suddenly, Himeng's body continued to bulge. Bang bang bang. After a few bursts, suddenly, I saw Herman exploded directly. Extinct. At this moment, whether it was the second regiment leader Gan Mu or Mu Shi, their expressions changed drastically, and their subordinates were a little shaken. They knew that Himeng, the leader of the 3 regiments, was an 8-star fighter, but now he was killed by Ning Luo directly. How could this be possible? Who is this kid in front of him, and how could he have such a powerful force? Mu Shi was shocked and looked at Ning Luo and said, "Boy, I didn't expect you to reach the strength of a fighting master at a young age." "He is a fighting master, second child, let's go together," Mu Shi suddenly shouted. Suddenly, Mu Shi and Gan Mu immediately attacked Ning Luo. Gan Mu's face became more and more ferocious, and with a violent shout, each of his subordinates quickly drew out their weapons with fierce faces and then rushed towards Ning Luo. At the same time, on Gan Mu's body, a pale green vindictiveness quickly swelled out of his body. A pair of iron fists gradually turned into the color of withered wood, held tightly, and then shouted angrily at Ning Luo's calf. Smashed away. I saw Ning Luo standing there, not nervous at all, and suddenly pointed towards Gan Mu. A white electric arc hit Gan Mu's body. Puff! The explosive force blasted on Gan Mu's chest, and the surging energy directly caused him to spray a mouthful of blood. His face was pale and swayed, and he stood up, pulled out a subway stick made of stainless steel from behind, and gritted his teeth at Ning Luo attacked and left. In almost 2 or 3 rounds, Ning Luo easily eliminated a few mercenaries whose strength was in the 5-star fighter, then slowly turned around, looking at the light green grudge all over his body, holding an iron rod, and charged fiercely. Gan Mu. Ning Luo fell silent a little, and the soles of his feet slammed on the ground again. With a loud sound, his figure shot out. In the blink of an eye, he came to Gan Mu and slammed a punch at Gan Mu, immediately mixed with fierceness. The vigor fiercely blasted at Gan Mu. The sharp wind-breaking energy made Gan Mu's pale face even more ugly. He hurriedly grasped the iron rod, the fighting spirit in his body surged, and then unavoidably greeted him. Boom! The crisp sound of steel intersecting resounded from the road, attracting people's attention. Boom! Punch! Just a punch! Gan Mu suddenly retreated and lay on the ground. The next moment, his body also exploded directly. Mu Shi was shocked. At this moment, Ning Luo looked at Mu Shi and smiled. "Next, it's up to you." As he said, Ning Luo's body suddenly rushed out and came to Mu Shi's face. He rubbed his hands together, and suddenly a white arc and a purple arc condensed into a ball in his hand, like a spiral. The pill is in general, forming an electric ball with a mixture of purple and blue. At this moment, Ning Luo's body also came in front of Mu Shi, and withdrew the electric ball from his waist with both hands. Boom! Suddenly, the electric ball hit Mu Shi's body. Mu Shi was shocked and flew out immediately, and the billowing electric arc kept rushing on his body. Ning Luo was like rubbing a spiral pill, fusing his own Qinglei and Zidian together to form a round ball, and then immediately hit Mu Shi's body. Suddenly, Mu Shi felt numbness and pain in his body. He felt endless pain, as if he was struck by 5 thunders. Puff! Suddenly, Mu Shi vomited a mouthful of blood. Looking at Ning Luo in disbelief, how could it be? How could you have such a powerful force? Mu Shi couldn't believe all this. His dignified 2-star battle master was killed by Ning Luo in a single blow. Mu Shi suddenly spewed out a mouthful of blood again. He was not beaten to death, he was already angry to death by Ning Luo. Okay, goodbye. Ning Luo snapped his fingers. Bang bang bang. After several fierce explosions, Mu Shi's body exploded directly, breaking into several segments. By this time, the 3 chiefs of the Wolfhead mercenary group had all been wiped out. There are only a few mercenaries left, their head is dead, and now it's just a mass of scattered sand, unable to make a climate. At this time, the mercenaries knelt on the ground. "Please let us go. We are just some small soldiers, our regiment leader was killed by you, we are no longer a threat to you, please let us go." They knelt on the ground, bowed their knees, and kept knocking their heads on the ground. Ning Luo looked at them and said pitifully, I know you are very poor, they are old and young, and I also know that you don't want to follow them for evil, they are all forcing you. Yes, that's right, everything we do is persecuted, please put us as a fart. The mercenaries hurriedly said. Ning Luo sighed, hey, poor. But I refuse. At this time, the mercenaries who were kneeling on the ground were suddenly shocked. Ning Luo smiled and said to them, my favorite thing Ning Luo does is to say no to those who think they can get away with it. At this moment, everyone looked at Ning Luo in astonishment. There was despair in the surprise, from hope to despair, it was just a moment. Their mood fell directly from heaven to the underworld. Ning Luo is not a virgin, and he knows that in this world of the weak are prey to the strong, if you can't cut the grass, you just add trouble to yourself. Therefore, how could Ning Luo do such a thing as a legacy of disaster? In this dangerous world, if you still hold the mentality of the virgin, you can only say that it is too naive. So, you all go to die. Ning Luo said, the grudge in his body immediately condensed. Dark clouds rolled in the sky, and lightning bolts fell from the sky. They are just contenders, how can they withstand the attack of the thunder, crackling? Thunder and lightning descended. Boom boom boom. I saw them being chopped into coke in the thunderous sky. The Wolfhead mercenary group is completely destroyed at this moment. Ning Luo also relieved his worries, so Xiao Yixian would not be in danger in the future, and he completely solved the trouble. Ning Luo asked the people from Wanyaojai to clean up the corpses at the door. There are still business to do tomorrow. With so many corpses at the door, who would buy medicine? Is this a place to save people, or a place to kill? So cleaning the battlefield is also very important. Ning Luo stayed in Wanyaojai. Then, he started to sign in cultivation. Ding, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully, and obtaining the heaven rank fighting skills. Ding, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully and getting the Sky Thunder Array Talisman. Ding, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully and getting the 3000 Karma Fire Talisman. Ning Luo immediately asked, what are the effects of these? Heaven-level fighting skills move flowers and trees, which can replace anything on another person's body without knowing it. It is a thief technique. The art of stealing. Ning Luo was a little shocked. However, since I am so powerful now, do I still need to steal it? But he still learns, and sometimes, it may still be useful. Sky Thunder Formation Talisman, can release Sky Thunder attack, even the fighting sage strong can hardly resist. The 3000 Karma Fire Talisman can release 3000 Karma Fire, which can kill the holy power. Looking at the signed amulet, Ning Luo nodded. It has to be said that with these spells, even if he encounters Doshang, he has the power to fight. At this time, in Qingshan Town, Xiao Yan slowly walked towards Qingshan Town and said, Teacher, where are we going? Magical Beasts Mountains. The old voice came from the ring on his finger. Isn't it possible to enter the Magical Beasts mountain range near Yutan City? Why are you still running so far? This belongs to the eastern part of the Magical Beasts mountain range. Crossing it from here, you can reach the Tagore Desert, which is the final destination of our cultivation. Yao Lao laughed. Across the Magical Beasts mountains. The corner of his mouth cracked, and Xiao Yan said with a dry smile, with my current strength, I can only deal with some young first-order magical beasts. It's impossible, isn't it? In a dangerous place, the potential can explode. Yao Lao said faintly, I plan to let you advance to become a fighting master in the Magical Beasts mountain range. Ah, then the time I practiced, didn't I have to spend all the time in the Magical Beasts mountain range? Xiao Yan's face suddenly became bitter after hearing this. My estimated time limit is 1 year, and the remaining half a year, you need to go to the Tagore Desert for cultivation. The scorching sun and the blazing high temperature scorched the earth to cracks in all directions. When the soles of the feet stepped on the hard soil, a wave of heat rushed in from the soles of the feet, causing those who had to walk to sweat and curse continuously. This spooky weather. On the spacious Lois pavement, a young man dressed in ordinary clothes was walking hard with his face full of sweat. Every time the young man dropped his feet, it would be like a heavy object falling to the ground, slamming heavily on the ground. Romania dust. Looking at it from a close distance, I saw that behind the boy was an extremely large black giant sword, Not so much a giant sword, but rather a thick iron giant ruler without a sharp edge or a blade. The black giant sword also doesn't have a sharp point. At the end, it's like being cut from the middle by something, exposing a smooth cross-section like a mirror. On the surface of the pitch-black giant sword, there are a series of vague and strange patterns, and the pattern reaches to the hilt, which fills almost all parts of the sword body. With the primitive pitch-black color, it looks quite mysterious. The length of the weird giant sword almost exceeded the height of the young man. Such a strange combination made some people who occasionally hurried past him couldn't help but cast curious glances at him. After traveling a few hundred meters again, the young man was finally unable to support him. He was breathing heavily like a windmill, dragging his feet as heavy as a kilogram, and descending in the shade against the big tree on the roadside. When he reached the bottom of the tree, the boy turned his back to the sky, and planted one head on the cool turf, letting the sweat on his forehead flow down like a stream. Before the sky gradually darkened, Xiaoyan finally reached the small town closest to the magical beast's mountain range. Walking on the streets paved with bluestone and carrying a huge sword not commensurate with his size, Xiaoyan naturally attracted a lot of strange eyes. But he ignored it, touched the sweat on his forehead, and walked slowly down the street. There are many shops on both sides of the street, and because of the geographical location, the popularity is still quite violent. Xiaoyan's eyes swept through the brightly lit shops with interest. But when his gaze fell on a medicinal material shop that occupies a rather spacious area, he stopped, and after a little indulge, he walked into the medicinal material shop of the famous Wan Yaojai. Looking through the transparent counter, Xiaoyan looked at a wooden box. There were a lot of huang jinglian in the wooden box, but Xiaoyan fixed his eyes firmly on the light yellow block at the corner. "Ah, please take this thing out for me, please." The clerk put the small wooden box in his hand on the counter and said with a smile, "Sir, there are 53 pieces of yellow lotus essence here. Are you buying all of them?" At this time, Xiaoyan took out one of them, smiled and said, "Sorry, I only need this one. I don't know how much it will cost." Old Yao immediately smiled and said, "Boy, thief, this is blood essence lotus." Xiaoyan smiled. "This is the blood essence lotus. If you want it, it will be cheaper. I will sell you 10,000 gold coins." At this moment, a voice sounded. 10,000 gold coins, are you eating people?" Xiaoyan said immediately. At this time, Xiaoyan saw that only a young master Pian came out from inside. Suddenly, Xiaoyan was shocked. Ning Luo." Xiaoyan looked at Ning Luo in shock. Ning Luo smiled and said, "Yes, it's me." Xiaoyan immediately said to Yao Lao in his heart, "Teacher, he is Ning Luo." Old Yao smiled and said, "Is he your enemy Ning Luo? Or I will kill him, and you won't have to fulfill the 3-year agreement." At this time, Xiaoyan coldly said, "I own my grudges, and I want to repay it myself. After 3 years, I must have him kneel in front of us. But, teacher, can you teach him a lesson for me?" At this time, Yao Lao looked at Ning Luo. "It's just a little douchey. As a teacher, I will teach him a lesson for you," Yao Lao said with a smile. Xiaoyan smiled and said, "Teacher, it seems that you are the only one who made the move. My land is indeed not his opponent. Ning Luo, this little guy is indeed not easy. Let's go, I will meet him." Yao Lao's voice sounded in Xiaoyan's heart. Xiaoyan nodded with a wry smile. "Well, leave it to me, I will temporarily control your body." For this, Yao Lao did not refuse. He knew that even if he wanted to use actual combat to train Xiaoyan, there was a limit. To challenge Ning Luo with Xiaoyan's strength was undoubtedly just looking for abuse. At this time, I saw Yao Lao instantly possessed Xiaoyan and looked at Ning Luo and said, "Ning Luo, let me try your skills." Ning Luo looked at Xiaoyan, who was rising steadily. Knowing this guy, he must have been replaced by Yao Lao possession. Isn't this Xiaoyan planning to go to the 3-year appointment, planning to kill himself here? Or does he want Yao Lao to teach himself a lesson? With a smile on the corner of Ning Luo's mouth, he looked at Xiaoyan and said lightly, "You really are not respectful of you." This statement came out. Yao Lao in Xiaoyan's body was suddenly shocked. Ning Luo, the kid, knows that own exists. How can this be? Ning Luo had learned soul restraint and had a few spells that could destroy Do Shang. Even if Yao Lao possessed him, Ning Luo was not afraid of it in the slightest. Yao Lao looked at Ning Luo. This kid was not simple, he even knew that own existed. So, this kid seems to be unable to stay. I saw Xiao Yan who had become Yao Lao, and the white flame ignited instantly. Ning Luo could tell at a glance that this was Yao Lao's bone spirit. However, Ning Luo was not yet ready to directly use the soul-holding technique. He wanted to see how big the gap was between himself and Yao Lao. At this time, Ning Luo suddenly attacked. A group of yellow flames condensed in Ning Luo's hands. This kind of beast fire. Suddenly, I saw flames surge towards Yao Lao. Old Yao leaned over, but Xiao Yan suddenly stopped. The white flames and ferocious aura that enveloped his body, Xiao Yan felt the oppressive sensation coming from the void in front of him, let out a sigh of relief, and slowly explored his palms. After coming out, and then trembling slightly, the white flames suddenly rose up. After Sen Baihuo showed up, Xiao Yan, who was leaning over, slammed his feet on the ground. With an explosion, his body was almost like the arrow that left the string, turning into a light and shadow, straight like lightning. The shot was directed at Ning Luo who was swept by. Boom! There was a loud noise. I saw two flames explode instantly. Yao Lao was shocked. Ning Luo, this kid, could actually hold his own bone spirit cold fire. Looking at this Ning Luo is indeed not easy. After Ning Luo took the old blow of the medicine, he was also very surprised. It seems that this medicine is indeed very strong, and the current self, by virtue of hard power, is far from his opponent. Ning Luo killed again, and the heavenly sword in his hand suddenly came out of his body. Yu Lei, the endless thunder and lightning storm appeared in an instant, and came to Yao Lao's front. Old Yao rushed straight into the storm. His palm was almost completely covered by the white flames, his eyes narrowed slightly, and Xiao Yan's palm suddenly plunged into the storm. The palm of his hand was inserted into the storm, and inside the room, a circle of terrifying energy fluctuations suddenly spread out, flying the ground by nearly half a meter. Gotcha! Xiao Yan kept his palms inserted into the storm. After a moment of stagnation, he saw that the lightning blade storm, which was originally spinning rapidly, started to solidify. In the sound of the click, the lightning blade storm was completely solidified into a huge one. Snow-white thunder pillar. Looking at the thunder pillar in front of him faintly, Xiao Yan slowly pulled out his palm from it, and lightly flicked his fingers on the thunder pillar. Boom! With a muffled sound, the thunder column burst out loudly. Ning Luo suddenly retreated a few steps. Ning Luo was shocked, even the own sword intent and thunder Wanjin weren't the old opponents of this medicine. Ning Luo, you are very good. You have such powerful fighting skills at a young age. These fighting skills should be above the ground level. Ning Luo looked at Xiao Yan, who was aging with medicine, and sneered, you are an old and disrespectful old thing. You have the ability to let Xiao Yan come and fight. Do you know my existence? Yao Lao asked immediately. Ning Luo sneered, you are such a powerful soul power, when I am blind. Can't you feel it? At this time, I saw Yao Xiaoyan's body smiling, boy, you are indeed unusual. I will give you a little lesson today. This blood essence lotus should be regarded as your apologize. Yao Lao said, leaving immediately. At this time, I saw Ning Luo smile gently at the corner of his mouth, haha, a lesson. Apologize, do you think you have won? As soon as this remark came out, Yao Lao looked back at Ning Luo. I saw that Ning Luo used the Chongchun recovery technique, and his body was as good as before, and there was no pain at all. I just wanted to test your strength just now. Do you think you are really my opponent? Ning Luo spoke, and suddenly, he saw his hands nodding. Spiritual restraint. Suddenly, a powerful force emerged from Ning Luo's body. The strength kept tearing at the soul of the old medicine. Suddenly, Yao Boss was shocked and quickly said, what is this cultivation technique? The corners of Ning Luo's mouth raised, and in an instant, Yao Lao was torn out of Xiao Yan's body. Suddenly, a few golden chains locked Yao Lao in an instant. How can it be? How so? How can you control my soul? Boss Yao was shocked. The translucent soul floating in the sky, locked by several chains, looked at Ning Luo in shock and asked. Ning Luo looked at Yao Lao and smiled. For an old and disrespectful old thing, now, do you dare to be arrogant? Yao Lao was torn out. At this time, I saw Xiao Yan kneeling on the ground. Some can't believe it. He raised his head and looked at his teacher. I saw Yao Lao in the sky, locked in by Ning Luo's spiritism. Ning Luo, what are you going to do? Let my teacher go. Xiao Yan shouted immediately. Ning Luo smiled and said, oh, is he your teacher? Xiao Yan shouted immediately, Ning Luo, this is our only grudge, it has nothing to do with my teacher, let my teacher go. The corner of Ning Luo's mouth raised, and he waved his hand. The transfer of flowers and trees is activated instantly. I saw that the ring in Xiao Yan's hand instantly came to Ning Luo's hand. At this moment, Xiao Yan was shocked. Ning Luo held the ring in Xiao Yan's hand and said lightly, he is in your ring, right? Ning Luo, what on earth are you going to do? Xiao Yan roared. What am I going to do? Obviously you came to provoke me first, and now I am embarrassed to ask what I am going to do. Ning Luo said coldly. I'm fighting with you. Suddenly, Xiao Yan pulled out the profound heavy ruler behind him, and immediately smashed it down towards Ning Luo. Ning Luo looked at Xiao Yan who had come to kill, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly, are you looking for death? Suddenly, the breath of Ning Luo burst out. The strong vindictiveness burst out suddenly. Boom, there was a loud noise. Xiao Yan was instantly shocked by the pressure of Ning Luo. It hit a huge pillar. Xiao Yan was shocked. He lay on the ground with mixed flavors. This Ning Luo didn't even take action against him. 3 years later, how can I defeat him? Ning Luo stared at Xiao Yan coldly, and said lightly, I have a 3-year appointment with you, but I broke my faith if I killed you first, so I won't kill you. I give you time to catch up with me. If you want to get this old thing back, it's just fine, but I need a second-order simian core. If you can find me the second-order simian core, I will give this old thing back to you. Quote. Ning Luo looked at Xiao Yan and said coldly. Xiao Yan rushed to the crown and wanted to continue attacking Ning Luo, but he knew that this was just humiliating himself. He looked at Ning Luo and said angrily, okay, I promise you, I will give you the magic core. After speaking, I saw Xiao Yan walking towards the magical beast's forest. At this time, Ning Luo looked at Yao Lao and said, why, do you still want to turn over in my hands? Old Yao looked at Ning Luo in surprise, and immediately said, boy, tell me who you are, how do you know my existence, and how do you know that I am in Xiao Yan's ring, what you use what is cultivation technique, how can it restrain me? Ning Luo looked at Yao Lao and said, don't you think you talk too much? Yao Lao was furious. At this time, Ning Luo looked at Yao Lao and said, it's okay if you want me to tell you, but you must promise me a few conditions. What conditions? Ning Luo looked at Yao Lao and smiled and said, you should know all the news about the strange fires, so I want you to tell me where the strange fires are. As soon as this remark came out, Yao Boss was shocked and immediately said, I won't tell you. Really? Then I will directly obliterate your soul, so that you will never live beyond life. Ning Luo threatened. Facing Ning Luo's threat, Yao Lao immediately changed his face. Ning Luo looked at Yao Lao and continued, in addition to all the news about the strange fire, I also want your bone spirit to be cold and hot. This statement came out. Yao Lao was very shocked. He looked at Ning Luo, boy, don't deceive people too much. Bone spirit coldness is my last resort, and I won't give it to you. Ning Luo smiled and said, this is not up to you. Ning Luo said, looking at Yao Lao, he immediately used Yiwa to pick up the tree. Transferring flowers and trees, transferring other people's things to own, is not limited to vindictiveness, objects, or other things. Therefore, even if this medicine is old infusion of bone spirit, it can be transferred. At this time, I saw Ning Luo's soul-holding technique lock Yao Lao, and then, immediately moved Yao Lao's bone spirit into Ning Luo's body. In Ning Luo's body, Yu Huo Ju turned around instantly, constantly receiving Yao Lao's bone spirit cold fire. Yu Huo Ju is a heaven-level cultivation technique, which is different from Fen Ju. Fen Ju is a Huang level and needs to be advanced. Therefore, in the original work, Xiao Yan would suffer a great deal of pain when he absorbs the different fire. But now, Ning Luo's Yu Huo Ju is a heaven-level cultivation technique, so even if it absorbs abnormal fire, it is very peaceful. Yao Lao's bone spirit slowly poured into Ning Luo's body. Yao Lao looked at Ning Luo in shock. How can it be? How can you absorb my strange fire? Bone spirit is cold and fierce, it's already my doubt about fusion, how can you absorb it? Ning Luo looked at Yao Lao and said, in this world, nothing is impossible. Ning Luo slowly absorbed the strange fire of the old medicine, and said lightly, okay, finally you will tell me about other strange fires. As long as you tell me, I will let you go. Old Yao looked at Ning Luo and said loudly, you devil. You devil. Ning Luo was extremely calm, sneered and said, the devil. No matter what, he continued to absorb the cold fire of Yao Lao's bone spirit. The silent night slipped by quietly. When the sky was just getting dark, the sleeping Xiao Yan opened his eyes on time. The wild life during this period of time has allowed him to adjust his biological clock extremely reasonably. After a night of deep sleep, the exhaustion emanating from the bones in the body has been completely annihilated, replaced by the vigorous vitality. Xiao Yan formed a cultivation seal with his hands, and slowly closed his eyes again. Early in the morning is the best time for cultivation to cultivate vindictiveness. Cultivating vindictiveness is like a boat. The success of Wadi. As Xiao Yan's breathing gradually stabilized, the calm space all over his body suddenly felt like water waves, faintly waved up, and strands of vindictive energy ooze out from the space. After the high-intensity exercise like yesterday, Xiao Yan's skin at this time is like a sponge. As long as he touches the grudge hovering around him and countless pores, he will compete first to open and close. Strands of vindictiveness swallowed in greedily. When the pores all over his body were greedily swallowed, most of the fighting energy followed Xiao Yan's breath and got into his body. After being refined by several cultivation techniques, it was slowly stored by Xiao Yan. In the little cyclone that kept hanging, the cultivation of vindictive energy lasted for nearly an hour. After the sunlight outside the window irradiated the room brightly, Xiao Yan slowly collected his gong, the prints on his hands were scattered, and a mouthful of drowsy qi was caused by the long exhalation. Out. The eyelids opened gradually, and a light yellow light flashed across the dark eyes, and after a moment, it was hidden in the deepest part of the eyes. Xiao Yan adjusted everything and began to prepare to deal with the ape. Hexi is a kind of magical beasts, most of them are Tier 1 and Tier 2. What Ning Luo wants is the magic core of Tier 2 Hexi, and Tier 2 magic core is equivalent to a fighting master. For Xiao Yan, it is a magic core, huge challenge. Moreover, the apes are cruel and like to be with humans. Therefore, Xiao Yan must greet him with a prosperous attitude. Master, rest assured, I will definitely save you back. Xiao Yan spotted the ape and instantly killed him. At this time, the apes were instantly enraged, and only a single ape appeared in front of Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan was shocked, and Zhan Zhongji immediately resorted to fighting with the ape. Suddenly a comrade ape lay on Xiao Yan's back, only pressing him under him. A pair of apes constantly rushed towards Xiao Yan. Do not. Xiao Yan was in severe pain. Tears of regret were shed. The other side. Ning Luo had already absorbed Yao Lao's bone spirit coldly. He stretched out his hand. Suddenly, a cloud of forest white flame appeared in his hand. Ha ha. Bone spirit is cold, handy. Chapter 51. Range of Warcraft. Warcraft Forest. I saw a single ape lying on Xiao Yan's body. They ravaged Xiao Yan madly. Do not. Do not. Why should I endure such pain? It's all because of you, Ning Luo, I will definitely make you pay. Xiao Yan roared sharply. At this time, I saw him fainted under the repeated impact of the ape. Wait for him to wake up. There are countless apes lying on his body, and they are constantly destroying him. He fainted again. Just like that, after Xiao Yan woke up, he was fainted by Heiyuan, woke up again, and fainted again. 2 days later, Xiao Yan slowly woke up. At this time, he found that there was no coma apes around him, and those coma apes seemed to be disinterested in him and did not kill him. At this time, he saw a second-order ape fell on the ground, foaming at the mouth, like a manifestation of kidney deficiency. Xiao Yan limply dragged his broken body and walked over and came to Heiyuan. The heavy ruler in his hand slapped the co-ape to death, then took out the co-ape's magic core and limped towards Wanyaojai. 2 days have passed. Ning Luo had absorbed all the cold fire of Yao Lao's bone spirit. Furthermore, Yao Lao couldn't sustain Ning Luo's torture in the end, and told Ning Luo all the news of the strange fire. Ning Luo has Yuhuo Ju, so the news of the strange fire is still very important to him. Now Ning Luo has bone spirit cold fire. Next, After practicing for a period of time, he was going to find the Qinglian heart of the earth. At this time, I saw Xiao Yan limping back. To Ning Luo's surprise, he brought back the magic core of Heiyuan. But there was a cloud of haze on Xiao Yan's face, as if he had been autistic, as if he had endured pain that he shouldn't endure at his age. I didn't expect you to bring back the magic core. Ning Luo quickly laughed. Xiao Yan looked at Ning Luo with a gloomy look, and said, I have already given you the magic core, let go of my teacher. Ning Luo smiled. He threw the ring containing Yao Lao's broken soul to Xiao Yan. The medicine is always inside, but it consumes a lot of money. If you want him to wake up, you just need to warm him up for a while, just like before. Ning Luo said calmly. He did not kill Xiao Yan, nor did he kill Yao Lao. He was a trustworthy person. He and Xiao Yan had made a 3-year agreement, if he killed him in advance. As if he was not keeping promises. So, he let Xiao Yan go. Xiao Yan finished speaking and limped away. Ning Luo looked at Xiao Yan's back and shook his head. He understood that Xiao Yan would be impure from now on. Ning Luo began his path of cultivation. Although he is already in the realm of Dushi, he knows that in Duqi continent, Dushi is nothing but cannon fodder. Therefore, if he wants to be a master, he must quickly become stronger. So his first goal is to conquer the Warcraft Mountains. There are a large number of monsters in the Warcraft Mountains, and these monsters can be used as his stepping stones for him to practice. Moreover, Warcraft also has magic cores, and there are many herbs in the Warcraft Mountains, so this is simply the best place for him to practice. If you are hungry, you can eat Warcraft, and then you can unlimited alchemy, unlimited medicine, and powerful Warcraft to accompany you. Practicing your own hands, how could Ning Luo give up with such a good place to practice? Ning Luo remembered that Xiao Yan was also cultivating in the Warcraft Mountains, so he was going to try this method. He stepped into the Warcraft Mountains. The rushing waterfall, smashing the rocks in anger, and the pervasive water vapor envelops a small valley. In the clearing below the waterfall, a young man with a naked upper body and a slender body is carrying the impact of water under the waterfall. Although Ning Luo's talent is against the sky, it doesn't mean that he can't practice. From small to large, Ning Luo has worked extremely hard in cultivation. Of course, there are contributions, and naturally there are rewards. Now Ning Luo has grown too much. Take a deep breath. Ning Luo's vindictive energy surges in his body. At this moment, his vindictive energy has improved a lot. Are the Qi Huqi pills almost used up? It seems that I have to go to gather medicine in the future. Huqi pill is the same as Wei Qi pill, both of which are replenishing Qi pill, but Huqi pill is a 3rd-grade pill, and Wei Qi pill is only a 2nd-grade pill. Therefore, the recovery of Huqi pill is much higher than that of Wei Qi pill. Looking at the 2 remaining elixirs, Ning Luo shook his head helplessly, threw one of them into his mouth, and then quickly formed the seal of cultivation with both hands. Sitting cross-legged, Ning Luo quickly entered the cultivation state. After a month of training, he knew that every time the fighting spirit was exhausted, it was the best time to practice. At this time, the cells and muscles in the body will be more greedy than any other time. As he entered the cultivation state and his breathing became steady, a faint flow of energy hovered around Ning Luo's body. Whenever it touched the pores of his skin, it was like a liquid hitting a sponge and was greedily swallowed by it. As the practice continued, the energy surrounding Ning Luo's body became more and more concentrated, and there was no momentum to decrease at all. You must know that Tier 3 monsters are equivalent to a Master of Power, but what Ning Luo possesses is the Heavenly Tier technique. Even if the Master of Fighting fights with him, it will be a spike. The more you reach the back realm, the more Ning Luo's strength is shown. Ning Luo's Huqi pills have been eaten, and he is going to find some herbs to make Huqi pills. The output of medicinal materials in the Warcraft Mountains here is quite abundant, and the 5 medicinal materials for refining the Qi Huqi pill have been refined up to now. 4 of them have been acquired by Ning Luo. And the number is quite large, if it is the last one. At the same time, if the most important kind of Wei Ling Kai fruit was found, then sufficient pill for Ning Luo could be refined. Returning spirit Qiguo generally grows in places where the energy of the heavens and the earth is relatively strong. Of course, this is not absolute, but it is always better to look for this kind of clues than Ning Luo, blindly looking for the elephant. Relying on his excellent soul perception, Ning Luo could vaguely feel the energy in the surrounding heaven and the earth in the approximate direction, and his current route is exactly facing a place with the strongest energy in the sense. At noon, it was a time when there were fewer monsters in the daytime. Ning Luo knew this, so he chose this time to look for medicinal materials. He seldom met monsters who went out looking for food when he came along. The two ends were also spotted in advance and avoided. Even now Ning Luo, if he encounters a tier 4 monster, it is not so easy to deal with, so he must be careful. Quickly past the cover of some shrubs, and a small pile of rocks appeared in his eyes. Behind the pile of rocks, he was leaning against a mountain wall with green vines spreading on it. Looking at the pile of rocks, Ning Luo rubbed his hands. The degree of energy concentration here is exactly the richest place he perceives in the surrounding areas. His gaze slowly swept across the pile of rocks. After a while, Ning Luo's gaze stayed on a small purple sapling on the mountain wall behind the pile of rocks. The sapling stretched out from the mountain wall. On it, green and red alternate, one after another, the fiery red fruits, under the cover of the green leaves, loomingly releasing a faint fragrance. Hiling Chiguo. Looking at the young sapling, Ning Luo smiled and breathed a sigh of relief. After searching for 2 days, he finally found this thing. The required materials are right in front of him, but Ning Luo did not rush out. He knew that most of the rare herbs in places with rich energy were guarded by monsters. His gaze scanned the surroundings cautiously, but no trace of half a monster was found. His brows wrinkled slightly. Ning Luo waited for a while again. After seeing that there were still no monsters appearing, then some doubts slowly crossed out. Hid in place, and then carefully walked towards the small purple tree. As the footsteps got closer and closer, Ning Luo suddenly felt a bit of chill in her heart, her footsteps stopped, her brows frowned, and she quickly turned around and ran. Boom! Just when Ning Luo just turned around, a huge white shadow on the top of the mountain wall crashed down like a hill, completely blocking Ning Luo's retreat. Looked at the giant monster that appeared suddenly. There was a sudden chill in Ning Luo's back, his body froze in place, not daring to move. What appeared in front of Ning Luo was a huge white demon ape. This demon ape is probably more than 10 meters high. The whole body was covered with long, snow-white hair, and the fangs were sticking out from the hideous giant mouth, and a pair of blood-red giant pupils exuded a brutal killing intent. His gaze swept across the white demon ape. Ning Luo lightly took a breath. Tier 3 beast, Titan Snow Demon Ape. Boom, boom. Titan Snow Demon Ape is among the third-order monsters and its fierce monsters. They should be regarded as kings among the third-order monsters. The demon ape's giant mouth was panting heavily, and his blood-red pupils watched the human who suddenly broke into its territory. Huge claws touched the ground, crushing several pieces of gravel to powder. But Ning Luo is not afraid of him. He looked at the Titan Snow Demon Ape and said loudly, "Big Ugly, what are you looking at? Take another look, and I will use your magic core to refine medicine." Ning Luo's behavior was undoubtedly a provocation to the violent demon ape. At the moment, the demon ape slammed his claws heavily on the hard armor on his chest, making a clanging sound. The giant feet moved, and the magic ape rushed towards Ning Luo with red eyes. On the huge claws, the white energy quickly condensed, and the surrounding air suddenly became cold. The tiptoes touched the ground lightly, and Ning Luo snorted softly, "Xianyi, come on." As the sound fell, a pair of 2 or 3 feet of black eagle wings suddenly ejected from Ning Luo's back. With a burst of wings, with the help of subtle buoyancy, Ning Luo's toes quickly slid more than 10 meters on the ground. Roar! The demon ape let out a sharp roar. The white cold air condensed into a spherical shape, then flung his palm and shot away at Ning Luo. The agility training in January has given Ning Luo the agile skills of a monkey, moving away strangely, avoiding the attack of the magic ape without any effort. After avoiding the attack, Ning Luo's palm suddenly curled up, pointed at the lower abdomen of the demon ape, and whispered coldly, "Bone Spirit Cold Fire." As the sound fell, fierce flames suddenly spit out from Ning Luo's palm, and the flames hit the demon ape's body. Roar! The fierce flame pulled the demon ape's body slightly tilted, but when it stabilized its figure, there was a sharp pain in the lower abdomen. When he looked down, he directly showed a wound, blood. Just like flowing water, it keeps pouring out. The severe pain made the manic demon ape lose his mind a bit. stepping on the ground, shaking the mountain, and chasing Ning Luo. With the agility of his stature, Ning Luo never hardened an attack from the demon ape, and the fierce suction continuously spitting out of the palm of his palm constantly drew out the blood from the demon ape's body. Above the pile of rocks, a weird scene is being staged. The irritable demon ape is constantly smashing against the little figure beside him. The irrational one is no longer different from an ordinary beast. However, the figure resembling a fly beside it, every time it makes a move, the magic ape will shed blood. On the pile of stones, the red blood covered almost every stone, which looked quite terrifying. At this time, Ning Luo stopped. With his right hand facing the Titan Snow Demon Ape, he is going to use the low-level fighting skills he has just learned in the past 2 days: Wind Extreme, Death. This fighting skill is Yun Lanzong's most powerful fighting skill. It is Yun Yun and Yunshin's biggest trump card. When Ning Luo left, Yun Yun passed this fighting skill to Ning Luo, but Ning Luo has not been used yet. Now, use this tier 3 monster to practice your hands. The extreme wind, kill. Suddenly, endless hurricanes surged, forming a series of sword blades, and the sword blades flew all over the sky, hitting the magic ape. The wind blade that I saw penetrated the body of the demon ape and suffered a fatal blow. The roar of the demon ape was finally slowly annihilated, and the huge blood-red eyes of the beast were like a hill collapsed. Fell heavily. Earth-level fighting skills against tier 3 monsters seem a bit wasteful. Ning Luo sighed. Ning Luo is no longer suitable for his cultivation here, so he decided to go further. Enter deeper into the Warcraft Mountains. Going deeper, of course, you will encounter stronger monsters, but only stronger monsters can arouse Ning Luo's fighting spirit. After all, Ning Luo's wish is to penetrate the Warcraft Mountains. Along the way, he met tier 4 monsters, but Ning Luo still only sought tier 3 monsters to practice his hands, and occasionally encountered some tier 4 monsters and also moved his hands, but every time he did it, although he won, he had to suffer hurt. Tier 4 demon is equivalent to a fighting spirit powerhouse. He is a fighting master. No matter how defying the sky, it is impossible to defeat a fighting spirit unharmed. He had also encountered a tier 5 beast, which was equivalent to a fighting king. Ning Luo saw that he could only praise Lu Xuan for speaking well, and ran away if he couldn't beat it. Fighting master hammers fighting king. Even if he has the heaven-defying technique, he can't beat it. May barely hurt others seriously, but it must be oneself who died. But he has the wind attribute technique. His body technique has been cultivated very fast, so if he wants to run, the 5th order monsters can't catch up with him. He also came to the depths of the Warcraft forest. He knew that he might be able to cross the Warcraft mountains in a short time. Dushi Realm. Those tier 4 beasts Ning Luo encountered before were still a bit difficult to kill, but when he reached the 9-star Dushi Realm, as long as he was willing, it would be a spike. Even if he encounters a tier 5 monster, Ning Luo is not afraid of it, regardless of whether he can't beat it before, but he can deal with a tier 5 monster for a long time. Ning Luo's realm is also rapidly improving, but if it deals with the 6th order beasts like the Lightning Wolf King and the Amethyst Winged Lion King, Ning Luo still can't deal with it. So, although he is skinny, he has no idea about tier 6 monsters. So Ning Luo did not provoke the Amethyst Winged Lion King in the end. In the Forest of Warcraft. After the high-intensity exercise like yesterday, Ning Luo's skin at this time is like a mass of sponge. As long as he touches the grudge hovering beside him, countless pores, he will compete first to open and close. Strands of vindictiveness swallowed in greedily. When the pores all over his body were greedily swallowed, most of the fighting energy followed Ning Luo's breathing and got into his body. After being refined by several exercises, it was slowly stored by Ning Luo in the little cyclone that kept hanging. The cultivation of fighting qi lasted for nearly an hour before Ning Luo slowly recovered his gong. The seals on his hands were scattered, and a mouthful of drowsy turbid qi was spit out for a long time. The eyelids gradually opened, and a pale yellow light flashed across the dark eyes, and after a short while, it was hidden in the deepest part of the eyes. Breakthrough. The Master. Ning Luo collects power. At this time, Ning Luo has successfully entered the realm of a master. The other side. Xiao Yan received Yao Lao's help and made a breakthrough very quickly. Within a few months, he broke through from the 3-star fighter to the 7-star fighter. Ning Luo, the humiliation you made me suffer, one day, I will pay it back 100 times. Xiao Yan gritted his teeth. At this time, he thought of Ning Luo. He seemed to feel the pain of breathing. He thought of a song by Jay Cho. The chrysanthemum is broken, the floor is hurt, and your smile has turned yellow. Ning Luo, I want you to suffer 100 times, no, 1,000 times more pain than mine. At this time, they were cultivating in the Warcraft Mountains. At this time, a violent sound suddenly came from the sky. Xiao Yan looked up at the sky. Above the blue sky, the violent energy fluctuations continuously produced a thunder-like sound. Even if Xiao Yan was far away from the fighting place, he couldn't help feeling a little dull in his ears. S eyes were staring at the distant sky, where the blue and red colors almost filled half of the sky, and even the lazy white clouds were rendered with 2 colors of light. There was a loud thunderous noise in his ear again, and Xiao Yan swallowed. The energy pressure from the sky made his heels tremble. Is this the real strong man? Muttered in his mouth. After initially seeing the terrifying power caused by this level of battle, Xiao Yan only felt that his previous self was like the frog at the bottom of the well. Until now, I know that the fact that the one enemy 10,000 recorded in the book does not just exist in the legend. Standing next to Xiao Yan, Yao Lao frowned and looked at the battle in the distant horizon, whispering to himself, that woman, it should be a human being. What did she ran to the Warcraft Mountains to fight the Amethyst-Winged Lion King? Why? Feeling shocked, older Yao suddenly smiled when he turned his head and looked at Xiao Yan, who was trembling. Nodded hard, Xiao Yan smiled bitterly. It seems that they're battles, I just know that my previous battles are just playing house. Hehe, I said earlier that the Do-Chi continent is very big, and there are not many people who are stronger than Do Huang. You have great potential. When you step into that level in the future, you will naturally find that this world is very exciting. Yao Lao said with a smile. I must become stronger and become Do Huang. No, not only Do Huang, I must become Do Zong, Do Zun, I will step on Ning Luo under my feet. Xiao Yan stared at the battle in the sky. At this time, old Yao shook his head. Since he had been in contact with Ning Luo, he knew how unrealistic Xiao Yan's ideas were. He wanted to defeat Ning Luo. Xiao Yan had no hope in his life. At this time, in the sky, one person and one beast were facing each other. The head of Warcraft is a fierce-looking lion head, with strange purple eyes glowing in blood red, a huge mouth full of fangs, and a fiery red spiral-pointed horn on top of the lion's head. Clusters of purple flames hovered around the horns. On the side of the huge lion's body, there were a pair of purple wings. As the purple wings fanned, clusters of lavender flames were like flamethrowers, sweeping out overwhelmingly. The 4 thick claws are also wrapped in a layer of purple crystals. Every time they step on, they will make the void tremble, and it is hard to imagine how powerful they are. The huge monster stepped into the void, an invisible pressure descended from the sky, making Xiao Yan's heart tremble. Is this the legendary Amethyst-Winged Lion King? Looking at the beast that combines beauty and destruction, Xiao Yan whispered softly. Shook his head in amazement at the appearance of the Amethyst-Winged Lion King. Xiao Yangshuan was about to cast his gaze on the man who was opposed to the Amethyst-Winged Lion King. The woman in the sky, with a plain skirt wrapped in a plump body, holding a long sword that looks a little strange and emits a blue light, and a blue silk is turned into a noble phoenix hair ornament. She has a beautiful and charming face. The woman is no one else, but Ning Luo's master Yun Yun. Behind Yun Yun, there are a pair of cyan feather wings. The wings are a little illusory. Above the sky, Yun Yun stood calmly, and his beautiful cheeks showed a touch of grace and nobility that could not be concealed by plain clothes. Human women, why are you here to disturb the king's rest? Above the sky, the giant Amethyst-Winged Lion King suddenly shouted. I want to use the Lion King's purple spirit crystal. Beautiful eyes stared at the Amethyst-Winged Lion King. Yun Yun's red lips slightly opened, and the indifferent voice was as clear and beautiful as the pearl falling on a jade plate. Amethyst Spirit Crystal. My Amethyst-Winged Lion clan can only shed a small piece from the body in 20 years. Did you say you want it? Amethyst-Winged Lion King mocked. I can exchange what you need with you. Yun Yun seemed to be a little afraid of this fierce tier 6 monster. So the words are not strong. Exchange. Hey, okay, I just happened to be in the transformation stage recently. As long as you can get me a transformation pill, I will give you the purple spirit crystal. How? When said, the amethyst-winged Lion King suddenly burst into laughter. Listening to the request of the amethyst-winged Lion King, Yun Yundai frowned slightly, then shook her head, and whispered, "Sorry, the transformation pill, I think there are not many people in the Gamma Empire who can take it out, but if you want, I can exchange it with 3 fifth-order magic cores and a high-level profound technique and fighting skills for you to practice." "I'm not interested. If you can't get the transformation pill, you can leave the monster mountain." Shaking the huge head, the amethyst-winged Lion King's mouth opened and closed slightly, and he refused Yun Yun's condition without hesitation. Sighed softly, Yun Yun slowly raised the strange long sword in his hand, and said helplessly, "If this is the case, then I have to forcefully ask for it." "Ha ha, humans have always been like this." Seeing Yun Yun's behavior, the amethyst-winged Lion King suddenly let out a big laugh that shook the earth. After a while, the laughter slowly subsided, but the voice gradually became colder. "I know you are also a strong fighting emperor, but if you really want to fight, can you get out of the Warcraft Mountains alive is still a problem. There is no need for the Lion King to worry about it." A faintly replied, Yun Yunsu lifted her hand slightly, and as her palm raised, a small cyan tornado suddenly appeared in the sky. The tornado, it was only 2 meters in size at the beginning, but after a while, the tornado storm rose up against the storm, and in the blink of an eye it became a huge tornado of more than 10 meters. Between the sky and the earth, the cyan tornado whizzed and revolved, and the giant trees above the ground were continuously forcibly pulled out, and then they were twisted into sawdust in the sky by the violent whirlwind. HMPH, the Warcraft Mountains are not your human territory, so it's not your turn to come to the wild. Looking at the ever-increasing tornado storm, the amethyst-winged Lion King yelled, with a deep roar in his huge mouth. The hum resounded through the mountains. Above the sky, a huge cyan tornado storm, between Yun Yun's wave of hands, carrying the violent whistling sound, madly swept away at the amethyst-winged Lion King. Where the storm passed, the forest below was all pulled into a land of loess, and many warcraft rushed out of it. Looking at the storm that swept over, the amethyst-winged Lion King made a roaring snort, his wings shook, and the huge purple pillar of fire that rose to the sky was 2 to 3 feet tall. Body came out, and then hit the storm away. 2 giants collided with lightning in the air. At the moment of the collision, the space was almost silent. Boom! A thunder blasted out of thin air on the clear sky. The storm and the pillar of fire collided fiercely, madly releasing terrifying energy from each other. At the intersection of the two, the space seemed to be rippling slightly. Boom! After the storm and the pillar of fire, after a stalemate with each other for a few minutes, it was finally because of the exhaustion of their energy that they disappeared out of thin air in a muffled sound that resounded through the mountains. When the storm and the pillar of fire dissipated, the Yun Yun standing still in the sky finally made a move. When the blue wing behind it fluttered, the body turned into a touch of lightning, passing through the energy turbulent zone in an instant, and then appeared in behind the amethyst-winged Lion King. The strange long sword in his hand stabs out, and on the tip of the sword, a ring of high-speed rotating wind blades is formed, like a cyan ball with blades on the outside. Ding ding! The long sword carried the wind blade and slashed on the surface of the amethyst-winged Lion King's body. A series of crisp noises rang in the air. However, the lightning stab of the long sword was only there. There were many white marks on the layer of purple crystal, and the white marks only existed for a while. It is completely dissipated. Didn't care about the opponent's ordinary attack. The giant amethyst-winged Lion King swung, and the sharp red spiral on top of his head shot out a huge purple flame that was half a meter thick. The fiery purple flame made Yun Yun's eyebrows frown. Susho formed a weird mudra in front of him. The wind pushes the momentum. Fell with that clear and soft voice. A violent cyan wind roll emerged in front of him. Then whizzed out. Resist the huge purple flame. Seeing the purple fire attack as invalid, the purple light in the beast pupils of the amethyst-winged Lion King suddenly flourished. Huge palm claws vigorously lifted a stream of gorgeous purple awns, furiously smashed down at Yun Yun. Where the palms pass, it even tore through the air barrier. A sharp sound wave. It screamed harshly above the sky. Looked at the violent offensive of the amethyst-winged Lion King. Yun Yun's cheeks were slightly solemn. Qingyi vibrated lightly behind him. A huge cyan wind shield 2 or 3 meters long, condensed abruptly in front of it. Ka! The giant palm bombarded the cyan wind shield. Purple light grand flourishing room. There was a crisp click. Immediately smashed the wind shield into fragments all over the sky. Dissipated in the wind. The amethyst-winged Lion King attacked fiercely, even so tyrannical. Break through the opponent's defense. A deep roar sounded from the huge mouth of the amethyst-winged Lion King. Huge body twisted slightly. The violent and appalling attack speed is almost incompatible with the size of that huge land. Facing the attack of the amethyst-winged Lion King, Yun had to dodge. After all, it is not a smart move to collide with the huge and abnormal former. Above the sky, the body of the amethyst-winged Lion King kept flashing, while Yun kept retreating. Although the wind seemed to fall slightly, it was not physically harmed. The battle in the sky, from midday. It continued until the sunset slanted. Looking at the huge sun that has fallen a small half of the horizon, I have been tirelessly chasing the Yunyundi amethyst-winged Lion King but suddenly stopped, the blood-red beast pupils glowing with purple light, with impatience, dead. Staring at the noble woman in the sky. Human woman, you have worn away my few patience. The amethyst Lion King roared in a low voice, shocking the forest. As long as the Lion King can exchange the purple spirit stone with me, I will never come to bother me again. After being pursued and killed for a whole afternoon, Yun still looked so graceful and noble. A cyan wind looming around him, whispered. I don't know what is good or bad, then don't blame me. Lion Yin faintly roared out of his huge mouth, carrying the anger, and the purple light on the body of the amethyst-winged Lion King grew stronger and stronger. After a while, the strong light was faint, overwhelming the momentum of the setting sun on the horizon. Looked at the strong purple light on the body of the amethyst-winged Lion King in the sky and the beast onlookers below. Suddenly, he retreated quickly with some horror, and even the three-headed Tier 5 monster was not listed. The abnormality on the body of the amethyst-winged Lion King was also noticed by Yun. Feeling the energy of the surrounding heaven and earth, her cheeks also gradually became dignified, and within a few feet of her surroundings, the wind began to whistle. The purple brilliance enveloped the world, after a long period of brewing. The light shrank suddenly. It's just a blink of an eye, and the sky is full of purple flowers. It was compressed into a dark purple beam of only about half a foot. Amethyst seal. When the purple light flickered, the deep roar of the amethyst-winged Lion King was constantly echoing in the mountains. At the moment when the deep purple light beam appeared, Yun's cheeks changed slightly, and the strong fighting skills brewed in his hands were also displayed during the movement of vindictive energy. Splitting wind whirlpool dance. As Yun's soft drink fell, the space in front of him fluctuated slightly, and countless huge deep blue wind blades full of more than 10 feet flashed out of thin air, and then entangled with each other, like cylinders full of blades, spinning at a high speed in a spiral. Rushed out. Boom. Where the purple beam of light and the wind scroll blade passed, the space was slightly distorted, and in an instant, with a terrifying sound of meteor collision, they slammed together heavily. The purple beam of light clashed with the Fenghuan blade, and Fenghuan clearly fell into the wind. It was only a moment before the wind burst, while the purple beam of light was only slightly dim. After destroyed the Fenghuan blade, the purple beam of light pierced through the dozens of wind shields arranged in front of Yun in a destructive posture. As soon as the purple beam of light succeeded, the huge body of the amethyst-winged Lion King flashed in front of Yun. On top of the huge palm and claws, 5 sharp purple spikes ejected, and fiercely struck the latter's chest. At this moment, Xiao Yan was dumbfounded, and his heart was filled with endless shock. It was so shocking, he had never seen such a powerful duel. He knew that no matter it was that woman or the amethyst-winged Lion King, he could be pinched to death at any time. In front of them, he was like an ant, and he would never be able to track their footsteps. Just when Xiao Yan thought the woman was about to lose, at this moment, a figure in white clothes suddenly cut through the sky, and instantly came to the woman's front, blocking her in front. At this moment, Xiao Yan stared at the white-clothed figure in shock. Because he recognized who the figure in white clothes is, he is not someone else, it is exactly the resentment in his heart, Ning Luo. At this time, a figure in white came to Yun. Although he is not tall and young, a purple wing sticks behind him. Do Chi Wai, is Ning Luo the Do King? Xiao Yan couldn't believe it. Yao Lao looked at Ning Luo in astonishment, this is a flying fighting skill. I didn't expect that he even has such things as flying fighting skills. This is really not to be underestimated. Master, what did you say that Ning Luo rushed to do? Isn't he sending him to death? Xiao Yan said immediately. Xiao Yan knew that the amethyst-winged Lion King was comparable to the Emperor Do. No matter how strong Ning Luo was, he couldn't be better than Emperor Do. So, what was the difference between rushing forward and sending him to death? I really hope that Ning Luo can die here, Yao Lao replied. At this moment, Ning Luo stood in front of Yun Yun. Yun Yun's face was also extremely surprised, and quickly said, Xiao Luo, why are you here? Master, you worked hard for me last time, so this time, let me do it for you too. Ning Luo said. Zion wings spread out and flew into the sky. He stretched out his right hand and said lightly, True beast. In an instant, I saw endless coercion pressing down on the amethyst-winged Lion King. Boom, there was a loud noise. I saw the amethyst-winged Lion King was actually suppressed by Ning Luo. Suddenly, a long sword fell into Ning Luo's hands. This was the magic weapon Ning Luo signed for, the Heavenly Sword. Holding a long sword in his hand, Ning Luo looked at the amethyst-winged Lion King with cold eyes, and said faintly, Naughty animal, I will accept you today. Suddenly, the amethyst-winged Lion King roared, and the roar came out, and the birds and beasts scattered. Where did the little baby come from? Are you here to stuff my teeth? The amethyst-winged Lion King said angrily. Naughty animal, why are you here to scream? See that this young man will cook you today. Ning Luo also sternly said, and suddenly, the long sword in his hand burst out with the power of rolling thunder. Amethyst-winged Lion King was furious, and suddenly the surrounding air began to explode with a powerful aura. Zuzi, I will kill you first, then the woman said. The purple beam of light suddenly burst out from the body of the amethyst-winged Lion King, and the billowing power continued to burst out. Purple flames in the sky continuously rushed towards Ning Luo. Ning Luo met his eyebrows coldly, and the sword in his hand surged. Fighting skills God Thunder Tribulation. This is a fighting skill created by Ning Luo through Thunder Wanjin, Divine Thunder Tribulation. Now Ning Luo is only in the realm of the Great Fighter. If Ning Luo reaches the realm of Do Huang, that kind of power, I am afraid that Do Zong Do Zun can't stop it. Suddenly, clouds and mist surged in the sky, and thunder and lightning surged in the clouds and mist, purple, cyan, and red. A ray of lightning seemed to tear apart the clouds and mist. The sky dimmed in an instant, the entire sky changed color, and a cloud of fog enveloped the world. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yan below opened his mouth wide. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that Ning Luo had such a strong power. He knew that Ning Luo was about the same age as himself, but why? He was only a 7-star fighter, and Ning Luo could actually cause a change in the world. How could this be possible? How can I surpass a person like this? Before, I was thinking of owning the golden finger of Yao Lao, and his cultivation level has improved so quickly. One day, he will surpass Ning Luo, and he will make everyone look at him with admiration. He thought, one day, he will surpass Ning Luo and step on Ning Luo. But seeing Ning Luo now, he understood that there was an insurmountable gap between him and Ning Luo, and the huge gap made him insurmountable no matter how hard he tried. Xiao Yan is autistic and feels that life has lost its color. Just when Xiao Yan was shutting down, lightning thunderbolt in the sky and thunder rang. The endless purple pillar of fire rushed towards Ning Luo in the sky, and the cold amethyst-winged Lion King of Ning Luo suddenly cut off the long sword in his hand. Thunder followed Ning Luo's orders, and instantly slashed towards the fire pillar. The pillar of fire is like a turbulent fire dragon, and the thunder is like 3 thunder dragons. One green, one purple, one red. Suddenly, the pillar of fire and the thunder were intertwined. Boom! There was a huge explosion, and a violent light rippled out in an instant, eclipsing the sky and the earth. The billowing energy spread instantly. Yun Yun's beautiful eyes flowed, looking at Ning Luo in surprise. Although she was Ning Luo's master, and although she knew that Ning Luo was extraordinary, he did not expect that Ning Luo would be able to shake the amethyst-winged Lion King, a 6th-order beast, equivalent to a powerful fighting emperor. A big fighting master can shake a fighting emperor, then, how strong this big fighting master must be. Furui Wubo's eyes were a little more admired, and a little bit more surprised. At this time, a powerful energy wave surged out. After Xiao Yan was hit, he was stunned, and the energy fluctuations immediately rushed over. Zuzi, wake up soon. Hearing Yao Lao's call, Xiao Yan woke up at this time. But at this time, the energy has spread to them. Yao Lao immediately used Bone Spirit to cold fire, and the white flames enveloped Xiao Yan. But still low and unable to stop the huge energy, the two of them were instantly knocked into the air by the energy. Xiao Yan was impacted by Yu Wei, puff. He vomited a big mouthful of blood. If it weren't for Yao Lao's protection, I'm afraid Xiao Yan is already a corpse now. This is the gap, an insurmountable gap. The aftermath of other people's fighting almost killed himself in a second. Such a person, before he wished to surpass. Let's go. Yao Lao controlled Xiao Yan's body and hurriedly left. Boom. At this moment, a huge fire exploded in the sky. I saw a thunder and lightning blocking the purple fire, and the other two lightning rushed towards the amethyst-winged Lion King and slammed on the amethyst-winged Lion King. The lightning on the body of the amethyst-winged Lion King kept surging, and the intense pain pierced his heart. He was so painful that he suddenly roared. Roar, humans, I must kill you and skin you cramps. The Lion King kept roaring, wishing to kill Ning Luo. You no longer have this chance. An elegant voice came out. It was Yun Yun who was speaking. Although Ning Luo did not directly kill the amethyst-winged Lion King with this blow, he severely injured it and bought Yun Yun a lot of time. I saw Yun Yun's cyan fighting wing flying into the sky, and the cyan longsword in his hand pointed at the amethyst-winged Lion King. The blue wings vibrated behind her, Yun Yun's body retreated in midair, and the strange longsword in her hand danced in a strange arc. In a moment, the long sword trembled suddenly, and the cold shout came from Yun Yun's ruddy little mouth. It came out. The wind is extremely dead. The space in front of him fluctuates slightly, countless huge deep blue wind blades full of 10 feet, flashing out of thin air, and then entangled with each other, like cylinders full of blades, spiraling and rushing out at high speed. The endless wind blade stabbed in an instant, and hit the amethyst-winged Lion King fiercely. The wind blade flew all over the sky, and then the wind force sharply pierced into the body of the amethyst-winged Lion King. Boom boom boom. An explosion spread across the body of the amethyst-winged Lion King. Ning Luo did not stop either. Saw his heavenly drive beast instantly turn on, imprisoning the amethyst-winged Lion King, leaving him nowhere to hide. Then, from his body, white flames burst out instantly. That is the cold fire of the bone spirit he got from Yao Lao. I saw the endless flames suddenly soaring into the sky, straight into the sky. This is a different fire. How is it possible, boy, how can you have a different fire? Amethyst-winged Lion King asked loudly. You have no chance to know. Ning Luo said, and immediately, endless firelight burst out all over his body, instantly engulfing the amethyst-winged Lion King. Roar. Amethyst-winged Lion King let out an endless roar, and he was extremely painful. Wind blades fell into its flesh and blood. Endless bone fire burns its body. What? He kept screaming and roaring constantly. Finally, after Ning Luo's bone spirit cold fire and Union's wind extreme were used up, the amethyst-winged Lion King also fell. That blow almost overdrafted Ning Luo. Ning Luo quickly ate a few chi-chi pills and fell from the sky. Yun Yun also came to Ning Luo's side, standing side by side with Ning Luo. After solving the amethyst-winged Lion King, they came to the cave of the amethyst-winged Lion King. Entering the cave, the light in it is not as dim as imagined. On the surrounding mountain walls, there are occasionally some purple crystal blocks inlaid. These crystal blocks are the natural products of the cave. In the human world, these purple crystal blocks are the natural products of the cave. Crystal blocks, but rather precious decorative items, are of great value. The interior of the deep and spacious cave is dotted with these amethyst blocks. It is extremely beautiful. Looking at these naturally formed cave houses, Ning Luo could only sigh in his heart that he has become a fine lion, and he knows how to enjoy a comfortable life. Passed through the long cave passage. After a long while, two fork roads appeared in front of him. Frowning and looking at the two fork roads, Ning Luo pondered for a moment, and walked cautiously into the passage on the left. This passage was rather tortuous. Ning Luo turned several times, and went further and further. As he entered, he suddenly found that the surrounding temperature was getting hotter and hotter. His heart stopped alertly. Ning Luo wiped the sweat on his forehead, looked at the faint purple light exit in the distance, rubbed his hands, and immediately exhaled, and the vindictive air slowly began to flow in the body. Yun followed Ning Luo's side, and a faint fragrance radiated out immediately, floating between Ning Luo's breath. Staring at the exit close at hand, Ning Luo lowered the sound of footsteps as much as possible, then quietly stretched out half of his head. His eyes quickly swept across the spacious cave. Sweeping his gaze carefully, Ning Luo unexpectedly did not find a half-headed beast. Ning Luo blinked, and after observing for a while, he walked in with confidence. Arriving in the cave, Ning Luo looked around, and finally stayed at the center of the cave, where an amethyst more than 1 meter high accumulated into a square platform-like appearance in the amethyst stone. On the stage, a purple ball-shaped object about the size of Ning Luo's head was quietly placed in it. Staring at the purple ball, Ning Luo suddenly discovered that all the heat inside the cave was released by this thing. There was surprise in his eyes. Ning Luo didn't expect this thing to have such a huge energy. He glanced cautiously around again, and muttered with some doubt, "Is this the purple spirit crystal? But why doesn't the crystal heat up?" Ning Luo slowly walked towards the Zilling stone terrace. Approaching closer, a faint heat wave hit, making Ning Luo once again surprised by the heat contained in this thing. Slowly bent down, Ning Luo stared at the mysterious purple ball, and asked Yun, "Teacher, do you know what this is?" Listening to Ning Luo's cry, Yun's calm gaze swept across the purple orb. Her eyebrows suddenly picked up, a touch of surprise flashed in her eyes, and she whispered, Is it the source of associated amethyst?" Associated amethyst source. This is the amethyst associated source. Ning Luo knew the amethyst associated source. In the original work, Xiaoyan has advanced several levels after absorbing the amethyst associated source. It seems that he can also absorb it. Moreover, after Xiaoyan absorbed it, he also evolved Fenju, and his own Yuhuo would also evolve. It seemed that this was a good thing for him. The amethyst-winged lion king is a kind of strange beast with extraordinary talents, otherwise it would be difficult for it to become a tier 6 beast. When such a beast is produced, there will be a very small chance that it will produce a small amount of at the same time as the beast. It also produces this accompanying source of amethyst. The companion amethyst source, because it spends a very long time in the belly of the Lion King, the pure energy it contains can be quite spectacular. This kind of companion amethyst source, when the little beast grows to a tier 4 monster, as long as it is swallowed, it can directly become a tier 5 monster, and the purple fire in its body will be more powerful than other amethyst-winged lions that have not swallowed the accompanying amethyst source. After finding the source of the companion amethyst, they continued to go to the cave, looking for the amethyst. Walked down the passage for a while, and the line of sight in front of him widened again. Her body pressed tightly against the entrance of the cave. Ning Luo exposed an eye, and slowly swept across the cave which was almost filled with amethyst stone. Sweeping gaze, after moving to the center position, slowly stopped, because here, a small amethyst-winged lion king is lying on the ground, quietly sleeping. Little amethyst-winged lion king? Ning Luo asked in surprise. At this time, Yun was also very surprised. They didn't expect that there was a small one in the cave. Ning Luoyan angered and shot at the little amethyst-winged lion king. Directly killed the little amethyst-winged lion king in seconds. Cut the grass without removing the roots, but the spring breeze blows and regenerates. This is true even for Warcraft. Ning Luo is not a saint, and he is in this world of the weak and the strong, so Ning Luo will not let go of everything that is unfavorable to him. Yun didn't say anything about Ning Luo's actions. She had lived for so many years and knew the cruelty of the world, so even she would do it. At this time, Ning Luo and Yun walked over and found the purple spirit crystal under the little amethyst-winged lion king. Ning Luo took the purple spirit crystal and handed it to Yun, and then took out the jade bottle by herself. The accompanying amethyst source was all packed into the jade bottle. There is not a drop left. Do you want to absorb the associated amethyst source? Yun asked. Ning Luo smiled and said, My Yuhuo needs the companion amethyst source to help me evolve, so I want to absorb it. Well, when you absorb, I will protect the law for you. Yun's beautiful eyes flowed and smiled. Seeing Master's smile, Ning Luo felt relieved. Under Yun's protection, Ning Luo began to devour the companion amethyst source. Ning Luo burst into air and swallowed all the bottles of the companion amethyst source. At this time, billowing vindictive energy continued to gush out, and purple energy instantly filled Ning Luo's body. Although the purple energy is quite domineering, Ning Luo constantly controls the flames in his body and merges with the purple energy. At this time, purple energy is constantly being incorporated into the flesh and bones, and whenever the purple energy is incorporated into the flesh and blood, there will be a little lavender here, as if a mark is expelled from all directions. After a while, all the purple energies that Ning Luo had blended into flesh and bones were completely compelled to have no place to live. They had to hug each other into fist-sized purple energies, and they trembled as they watched from the surroundings. Ning Luo's grudge. At this time, Ning Luo ran Yuhuo-ju, and the fighting energy that surrounded the purple energy suddenly rushed towards the latter. Seemed to feel the crisis, this group of purple energy suddenly trembled violently, and on the surface of the energy, a purple flame curled up, burning some of the energy rushing over to nothingness. The fighting energy that poured into Ning Luo's body suddenly turned into a cyan earth storm out of thin air. The storm was spinning at a high speed. After a while, the purple flame was swept in. Suddenly, the cyan storm turned into a whirlwind of alternating blue and purple colors. The storm spins at high speed, constantly removing the violent factor contained in the purple energy. After being thrown out by the storm, the violent factor that was eliminated will be swarmed by the wind attribute vindictive army that surrounds it, instantly culling it into nothingness. As the storm spins faster and faster, the purple in the two colors of blue and purple is gradually fading, and when it fades to the point where it is no longer harmful, the storm suddenly stops and then slowly disappears. After the storm disappeared, a group of light purple flames curled up inside Ning Luo's body. The purple flame this time is obviously much more docile than before, and its violent offensiveness has also been weakened. The current thing may be the pure energy that can truly be absorbed for refining. The light purple flame quickly passed through several meridians, and then projected directly into the cyclone. The light purple flame just entered the cyclone. It caused a huge movement. Not only the speed of rotation suddenly accelerated a lot at this moment, but the cyclone, which was originally only 2 palms, was rapidly expanding. In the light yellow cyclone, a group of light purple flames continued to revolve and revolve along the former, and, while revolving, strands of light purple flames were differentiated from them, and finally turned into the most original energy. Melted into the cyclone. Just then, Ning Luo's body suddenly became hot. I saw him panting suddenly and looked at Yun Yun. Yun Yun looked at Ning Luo, very surprised, and immediately said, "No, this amethyst companion source has an aphrodisiac effect." Ning Luo was dazzled by ***** instantly step by step, and walked towards Yun Yun step by step. Yun Yun was extremely surprised. What should I do at this time? Xiao Luo is his apprentice, can he let it go? But she looked at Ning Luo. At this time, Ning Luo had already arrived in front of her. It's time for her to make a choice. Just when Yun Yun's brain was blank, at this moment, Ning Luo hugged her slender waist and threw Yun Yun to the ground. In the cave, I saw Ning Luo push Yun Yun down. When Yun Yun was still struggling with thoughts, Ning Luo was already pressing on her. "Xiao Luo, it won't work, I am your master," Yun Yun shouted. But now Ning Luo, nowhere can I hear it. Saw him hold his master firmly. Don't care at all. Now Ning Luo has lost consciousness under the urging of the companion source of amethyst. Plus Ning Luo has always liked his master. So, now, Ning Luo can't bear it anymore. Ning Luo held down Yun Yun and began to kiss. In fact, with the strength of Union Duhuang strong, it is easy to break free from Ning Luo. But she knew in her heart, if I don't vent to my apprentice now, I'm afraid Ning Luo is likely to fall into trouble. Besides, the reason why she didn't resist was because deep in her heart, she was willing. Since Ning Luo tried his best to save Yun Yun last time, Yun Yun's heart has had the shadow of her apprentice. But she knows that it is impossible for herself and her apprentice. The mutual love between the master and the apprentice is something the world can never tolerate. Therefore, she can only hide her heart in the bottom of her heart. At that time, how much she hoped, how good she hoped that her apprentice was not her apprentice. What should I do if I change it myself? Stop him, or will it be wrong? Yun Yun looked at Ning Luo, who was lying on her body. Although she was a strong Do Huang, she was also a woman. She also felt under Ning Luo's claws. Looking at her apprentice, Yun couldn't help but feel a little confused. Xiao Luo, no, I am your master. Xiao Luo, wake up. Yun said with her mouth, but she didn't make any movements with her hands. Let Ning Luo wreak havoc. Suddenly, Ning Luo caught Yun's waist. Ning Luo gently pulled Yun's belt. In an instant, I saw Yun's clothes spread out. Ning Luo buried in front of Yun. Xiao Luo, really not. Ning Luo was enjoying this fragrant scene, and saw that his Tian Yanju was constantly refining the accompanying source of amethyst. The heavenly drive Yujuju also operates at the same time. In an instant, Ning Luo's consciousness gradually returned. Saw his eyes slowly turn black, and his consciousness recovered. But, at this time, he was shocked. What are you doing? This woman under me is Master. Ning Luo was shocked suddenly. He just lost consciousness. Could it be that during this period of time when he lost consciousness, he took action on his master? I'm a beast. He immediately wanted to leave his master. However, he found that his master was actually catering to him. Could it be? Xiao Luo, don't stop. Although I know this is wrong, I can only be wrong. Xiao Luo, do you know? I have never fallen in love with anyone. It turns out that the feeling of loving someone is like this. Just go wrong like this. When you wake up, treat all this as a beautiful mistake. Yun didn't seem to know that Ning Luo had recovered, she only said to herself. Then, for the sake of her apprentice, she had accepted all this frankly. Ning Luo Yu Guang looked at his master. Originally he was going to leave. But leaving now, isn't he even worse than beasts? Ning Luo pressed down and kissed his master. Now, he has no turning back. Ning Luo leaned down gently. Since the master would be wrong, then he would be wrong, too. However, since he had a relationship with his master, he would not care about the worldly vision. He must make his master the happiest woman in the world. In the cave, there was very silence, and a faint light shone on the two of them. Xiao Luo, you be brave. Yao Lao left with Xiao Yan. At this time, Xiao Yan was shocked by Ning Luo's afterglow and suffered serious injuries. Yao Lao's fighting spirit was almost used, and he hid in Xiao Yan's ring. This time Yao Lao consumed too much and couldn't protect Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan suffered a very serious injury, coupled with his frustration, fell to the ground. He understood the strength gap between him and Ning Luo, and understood that it was impossible to surpass Ning Luo, so he became extremely lost, trembling, and walked alone in the Warcraft forest. He is unsure, don't know what to do. At the beginning, he even boasted about going to Heiko and made an agreement for 3 years. Now it seems that even if he is giving himself 30 years, it is impossible to be Ning Luo's opponent. Xiao Yan sat paralyzed under the tree, and at this moment, the forest suddenly rang. At this time, Xiao Yan raised his eyes, and saw a few he-apes staring at him. Seeing Heiyuan, Xiao Yan's heart was suddenly filled with psychological shadows. The original pain suddenly appeared in my heart. But he can't help it. Although he is a 7-star fighter now, he has been seriously injured and can't resist at all. I saw only one ape leaping towards Xiao Yan. Looking at the charming curvy silhouette on the back of the master, Ning Luo slowly unloaded his jacket. Ning Luo's fingers occasionally touched master's skin while moving the clothes. He will feel the opponent's body suddenly tighten. Slowly unloading the clothes to the master's slender waist, Ning Luo blurred the metal buckle of the inner armor, and gently untied them one by one. Untied the last button, Ning Luo carefully removed the inner armor from the master's body. Yun's skin gradually turned crimson, and her body was constantly trembling. When Ning Luo's arm came up, Yun's body suddenly stiffened, and the jade hand against Ning Luo's face was soft and weak, like a massage between lovers. The heat in her body was instantly ignited and assimilated. At this time, Yun's jade arms wrapped around Ning Luo's waist, and his jade cheeks kept rubbing against his chest, but just when his mind was about to retreat again. Yun's beautiful eyes suddenly dripped with crystal tears, and a vague voice came from the seductive red lips, Xiao Luo, when you wake up, forget all this. Ning Luo knew that master still couldn't let go of all this. At this time, the voice of the system kept ringing in his mind. Ding, the host contacts Yun Yun and gets a chance to sign in. Ding, take off Yun Yun clothes and get a chance to sign in. Ding, I only saw the chance to sign in again and again in Ning Luo's mind. But now Ning Luo, where can I manage so much? He is now full of his own master. I have to say that master's slender thighs are really tempting. Even the Xiao Yu that Ning Luo had met before could not be compared with his master. A few hours later, Ning Luo woke up slowly. Master, Ning Luo shouted softly. Yun Yun was shocked as soon as he said this. Yun Yun always thought that Ning Luo was in an unconscious state. But now, when did Ning Luo wake up? Yun Yun is still naked, so she can't explain it at all. Xiao Luo, when did you wake up? At this time, Ning Luo hugged his master from behind and said softly, I have been awake since you made up your mind. As soon as he said this, Yun Yun's face flushed immediately. Why are you? Why? Because I also like master. I have always liked master since I was a child, and always liked it. However, I know that master has always regarded me as a kid, so I dare not tell master what I want. When the master said that he also liked me, I was so happy. Therefore, I also wanted to make the mistake and make use of this beautiful mistake, so that our hearts can be honest with each other. Quote. After Ning Luo finished speaking, Yun Yun was shocked. But, Xiao Luo, we are mentors and apprentices. Our relationship like this will not be accommodated by the world. Xiao Luo, forget today, in the future, we will still be mentors and apprentices. Quote. At this time, I saw Ning Luo immediately said, screw the world. I don't care about the worldly perspective, I only care about master. I like master, master likes me, why can't we be together? Master, if we are together and others dare to say anything, then I will kill whoever said it, and kill them until they dare not say it. Quote. Xiao Luo, but, Yun Yun hadn't finished speaking, but Ning Luo immediately kissed Yun Yun, preventing his master from continuing. No but, master, I like you very very much. So, for you, I don't care about anything. Master, why don't you dare to face all this? Ning Luo looked at Yun Yun and said. Master, I like you. Ning Luo said, kissing Yun Yun again. Yun Yun also greeted her. Xiao Luo, me too. Xiao Luo, you don't care, master, should take the responsibility even more, and I don't care either. Quote. Ning Luo nodded, and then pounced on Yun Yun again. Master, can you? Anyway, you also. You asked me. Yun Yun said shyly. Everything after has become a matter of course. At this moment, I don't want to press it. I saw that Ning Luo absorbed all the amethyst companion sources and turned them into vindictive energy. In an instant, Ning Luo directly elevated to the realm of a 3-star master. Ning Luo and Yun Yun came back to Yunlanzong. After a short stay in Yunlanzong for a few months, during these times, Ning Luo either had Nalan Yanran or Union. Yun Yun completely accepted Ning Luo, but when the master and disciple meet, you still need to be more careful. Yun Yun did not disclose the matter, so the two can only be together in private. Ning Luo wanted Yun Yun and Nalan Yanran to be the master and apprentice together, but for the time being, he didn't have the guts. Let's wait until everything is public. Ning Luo said goodbye to master. He is going to attend the annual Chinin college admissions. Ning Luo wanted to obtain a different fire, and the heart of Qinglian Earth's fire was in the Notagore Desert. However, falling heart flame, but in Chinin college, only after entering Chinin college can you get a different fire. Although Yun Yun was a little bit reluctant, she knew from the bottom of her heart that Ning Luo had grown up and she could not stay for a lifetime, and she also hoped that Ning Luo could have a good development. Chinin Academy is indeed more suitable for Ning Luo than Yunlanzong. So she let Ning Luo leave, and Nalan Yanran also wanted to be with Ning Luo, so Nalan Yanran also followed Ning Luo. When left, Ning Luo came to Qingshan town. He wanted to say goodbye to Xiao Yishan, or to invite Xiao Yishan to Chinin college, but after he came to Qingshan town, he learned that Xiao Yishan had already left, so he left a letter to Ning Luo. Ning Luo opened the letter and saw it read. Ning Luo, I left. Leaving silently like this may be my best choice. I recently discovered that I am becoming more and more unable to suppress the toxins in my body. I stayed in Qingshan town for fear of harming everyone in Qingshan town. Therefore, I chose to leave. Of course, it was not only for this reason. The more important reason is that I know that you are not an ordinary person. You have high talents and strong strength. You are in front of me, like a peak I can never reach, but I want to stand in the same way as you. The height of my life, so I chose to leave and look for opportunities that belong to me. One day, I will stand with you. So, please forgive my waywardness. Xiaoyishan, don't read it. After reading the letter, Ning Luo felt a little melancholy, but after a while, Ning Luo swept away the haze in his heart and smiled and said, "What a silly girl. But I believe you, one day, you will stand at the same height as me." Ning Luo took Nalan Yanran away and headed to Yutan City. A few days later, Xiao Yan got up from the ground, and Heiyuan applied medicine to his wound. Perhaps they wanted to use Xiao Yan for a long time before they could save Xiao Yan's life. Xiao Yanqiang resisted the pain in the back and limped out of the ape's nest. After a few days, he understood that he could not give up, even if there was such a big gap between himself and Ning Luo. Can't give up either. He has already experienced the war of the ape, what else is he afraid of? Ning Luo, although you are very strong, no matter how much you pay, I will catch up with you. After 3 years, waiting for me, I will definitely defeat you. Xiao Yan growled from his neck. Then he limped and left Heiyuan's nest. Ning Luo took Nalan Yanran back to Yutan City. 2 or 3 months later, at this time, Ning Luo had also reached the age of 14, and his strength had directly reached the 5-star master. During this period of time, Ning Luo has not been idle and has been practicing hard, because since he has come to this world, then he wants to go to the pinnacle of this world to see. His alchemy skills have also improved very quickly, coupled with the increase in his different fire level, so now Ning Luo can refine the basic 4th rank pill, that is to say, he can be regarded as a 4th rank refine the pharmacist. However, at this time, the admissions of Chinin College also began. As one of the well-known high-level institutions in the Duki continent, Chinin College is almost a holy place in the hearts of all young people. As long as they can further their studies from the academy, their future will be almost flat, and they can't help but return to their hometowns in full glory. The fragrant steamed buns that the forces are vying to snatch. Chinin College is located at the junction of the Gama Empire and the 2 nearby empires. In such a 3-minded area, Chinin College has almost become a small country. According to common sense, it is the 3 empires of the neutral forces between the corners will not sit back and relax. After all, it is not certain that one day this force will be drawn together by opponents, which will cause serious harm to the border defense of the empire. Of course, this depends only on the premise that the Angle power is weak. If the strength of the Angle power has risen enough to compete with the 3 empires, the 3 empires quietly stopped all thoughts, and finally had to let Chinin Academy be like a giant dragon, entrenched on the edge of the empire, no one dared to provoke it easily. After years of development, the current Chinin Academy has not only become a well-known high-level academy on the mainland of vindictiveness, but also because of some obscure cooperation with the 3 imperial families, it has also led to its reputation more and more prosperous. There are a lot of reasons for the 3 empires that are incompatible with water and fire that have been able to maintain peace for nearly 100 years. It is because of the secret control and reconciliation of Chinin College. All these countless numbers have made Chinin College become more and more prestigious among the 3 empires, and every year, the Chinin Academy will dispatch a large number of mentors, and recruit students with outstanding cultivation talents from within the 3 empires. Regarding this move of the Chinin Academy, the 3 imperial royal families all unanimously maintained a high degree of approval. After all, the academy is not a sect, and the academy does not have much binding force after graduation. Most of the students who have achieved academic success will choose to return to their own country. Regarding this kind of indirect enhancement of national strength, the royal families of the 3 empires will naturally not refuse as long as their brains are not caught by the door. Chinin College recruits students, focusing on cultivation talent. Rather than status or status, if you don't have enough talent, it will always be difficult to step into the door that symbolizes a smooth journey. Of course, there is no absolute, if you have some huge power behind you. The Chinin College doesn't care about an extra large sum of money in the college that contributes a lot of tuition fees to them every year. Because Chinin College's admissions ignore status and status, so, now in Yutan City, Even some young beggars or thieves. They have already begun to eagerly await the arrival of the admissions tutor. As long as they can step on the asterisk and pass the level, then you will be able to get rid of this kind of inferior and lowly job, so as to become a respected combatant. Driven by this atmosphere, Yutan City's recent atmosphere, it is a bit more lively than the holidays. Every day at the gate of the city, everyone was watching eagerly. At this time, many young people in various venues in Yutan City are sweating as hard as they can. These people are all looking forward to the last few days to be able to meet the qualifications of Chinin College. Standing on the edge of the training field, Ning Luo looked lazily at the field before turning around boredly. He didn't have much sympathy for these guys who don't usually burn incense and hold Buddha's feet temporarily. Lu Xuan once said, "If you work hard to be useful, you have to be talented." Single quote. Regardless of whether they haven't worked hard before, even if they work hard, if the talent is too low, Chinin College will look down on it. This is the reality. Chinin College's enrollment bottom line is not low. Before the age of 18, one must reach 8 stages of fighting energy. These harsh conditions have shattered many people's dreams. Of course, from the perspective of Ning Luo, now on the training ground, there will be no more than 2 if the conditions meet the enrollment limit. But this kind of condition, for myself, is just like having a family. Holding the back of his head with both hands, Ning Luo threw the group of guys out of his mind. It doesn't matter how many of them can get in, it doesn't matter to him, he shook his head. Ning Luo turned into a small road and walked into a garden in the backyard. The back of a familiar girl was standing pretty among the flowers, looking extremely beautiful. Squinted his eyes slightly to look at the perfect curve of the back, a soft touch appeared on Ning Luo's face, smiled softly, and slowly walked towards the girl in Qingyi staring at the willow tree in a daze. Ning Luo. Before approaching the girl, the happy and cheerful voice passed into Ning Luo's ears. The woman is not someone else, but Xiao Zuner. Ning Luo, haven't seen you for so long, where have you been? Xiao Zuner asked with her hands behind her back, looking at Ning Luo. Ning Luo smiled and looked at Xiao Zuner and said lightly, "Why, Miss Zuner cares about me so much?" "Ha, I don't care about you. Are you here to take the entrance exam for Chinin College?" Xiao Zuner asked. The footsteps paused slightly, Ning Luo nodded, and walked forward slowly, standing side by side with Zuner, turning his head away, but saw the delicate little face that was a little sad. "You are so powerful, do you want to enter Chinin Academy?" Xiao Zuner looked at Ning Luo and asked. "Why, can't it? I don't bother to care about you." Xiao Zuner said. "Are you going to Chinin College too?" Ning Luo asked, looking at Xiao Zuner. "I won't go if you go," Xiao Zuner said immediately. Ning Luo helplessly shook his head. At this time, Xiao Yu's long white legs walked over, and a pair of white silk was particularly conspicuous under the sun. She walked to Ning Luo's side and said softly, "Ning Luo, are you also coming to take the entrance exam for Chinin College?" Ning Luo saw Xiao Yu, but he was not surprised, because he knew that Xiao Yu was a student at Chinin College. Ning Luo nodded. "Well, come with me," Xiao Yu said. Although the enrollment team stayed in Yutan City this time, the scope of their responsibility also included several cities near Yutan City. Therefore, when Ning Luo and others rushed to the admission-specific square the next day, looking at the crowd of people who could hardly see the end, couldn't help being dumbfounded. On the huge square, there were bursts of noise blasting into the sky, and countless young people were desperately squeezing into the square. If it weren't for the edge of the square, the army dispatched by the city lord's mansion would maintain order. Has rushed in desperately. Xiao Yu brought Ning Luo Zuner and the others here. The person in charge of enrollment in Yutan City this time, but my mentor, as her proud disciple, we don't need to line up, just follow me. Xiao Yu straightened his chest, said with a smile, and waved his palm, "Follow I come." When Ning Luo met Xiao Yu for the first time, Xiao Yu was supposed to be B level. Now, looking at Xiao Yu's size, there should be D. Ning Luo's gaze slowly moved away from Xiao Yu's chest, and then followed Xiao Yu, who had long legs, to the other side of the square. Kaoru smiled, nodded lightly, and followed Ning Luo. Several people followed Xiao Yu around the huge square, and finally stopped at the west of the square. It was already at the back of the square. The heavily armed army surrounded this place for 2 or 3 floors, glowing with cold weapons, reflecting the dazzling light in the sun. His eyes swept away and defended strictly. Xiao Yu exhorted to Ning Luo several people. Then came forward alone. He took out a turquoise sign from his arms. Talked softly with a soldier who looked like an officer. Then he waved at Ning Luo and others. Motioned them to come. The middle-aged officer looked sternly. It swept across the Ning Luo group every inch. After a long while, just waved his palm. Shouted, "Let go." Listening to the middle-aged officer's shout. That rigorous subway is the best-in-class wall. Immediately, there was a neat sound of armor colliding. A path just to allow people to pass through the ground slowly appeared. He smiled gratefully at the middle-aged officer. Xiao Yu collected the green card. He raised his chin triumphantly towards Ning Luo and others. Then followed the middle-aged officer. Walk in first. Followed Xiao Yu. Ning Luo and the others also stepped into the passage of this wall. At this time, as soon as Nalan Yanran and others entered it, they felt a little cold on their skin. The expressionless soldiers around. There is a faint smell of blood on the body. Ning Luo and the others almost felt a sense of oppression that was difficult to breathe. Is less than 10 meters away. For a few people, however, it is difficult to finish walking like thousands of meters. When the footsteps finally took the last step, everyone is now. The palm of his hand was already covered with cold sweat. As for Ning Luo, I don't know what happened, and I don't feel it at all. The pretty face was slightly pale. Xiao Yu smiled bitterly at the middle-aged officer. Senior K, are you tossing us on purpose? Hehe, this is what Teacher Ruolin ordered. If you want to go through the back door, you will naturally have to withstand some tests. You are also very good. Each of my subordinates is a man who used to sleep with a corpse. Halfway through, you have to be scared and paralyzed. There was a smile on the middle-aged officer's wooden face. His eyes swept across Xiao Yu and several others, and finally stopped on the plain-faced Zuner and Ning Luo, and a little admiration appeared in his eyes. It seems Teacher Ruolin this time it seems to be able to receive some good students. At this time, Ning Luo asked with a dazed expression, "What are you talking about, what test?" The middle-aged officer asked in surprise, "You didn't feel anything when you just came in?" No, Ning Luo shook his head. The middle-aged officers were suddenly surprised. The murderous aura on them was formed by killing and killing all the year round. It has nothing to do with fighting spirit. Only those who are in the middle of killing and killing would ignore it. If it is those who are pampered all the year round, I am afraid that they will be directly frightened. Guts. Ning Luo didn't even feel murderous. Did he kill anyone? He looked at Ning Luo again. He felt that the murderous aura on Ning Luo was stronger than himself. Such a person might have hundreds of dead souls who died in his hands. Ning Luo certainly killed people. Mr. Yao from Wanyaojai and his subordinates, the Wolfhead Mercenary Corps, and the Garli family, although there were not hundreds of them, there were probably more than 100 people. The eyes of the middle-aged officer looking at Ning Luo changed from admiration to shock, from shock to respect. He quickly nodded to Ning Luo and said, "Little brother, please come inside." Seeing Senior K's salute to Ning Luo, Xiao Yu was extremely surprised. A senior should salute a freshman. Who is this Ning Luo? Zuner squinted her eyes and walked forward with Xiao Yu holding Ning Luo's arm. Walking to the center of the square, an open green cloak appeared in the eyes. Here, the people in Ning Luo could already see the crowds outside. In several passages, occasionally young men and women who passed the test were full of excitement. Walked towards the inside of the square. Just as we approached the big cloak, a woman's laughter spread to Ning Luo and a few people. A red shadow rushed over quickly, and finally smiled and hugged Xiao Yu with her palm on Xiao Yu. He touched the willow waist and jokingly laughed, "Let this lady touch and see if he gains weight. Sister-in-law, get out of the way." While pushing the woman in her arms away with a smile, Xiao Yu turned to Ning Luo and introduced with a smile, "This is my good sister at Chinin College, her name is Xuani. She is a 4-star fighter." Hearing the words, Ning Luo and the others turned their eyes to the woman in red in front of him, with a slightly pretty cheek and a bright smile. She has a long brown head and knotted a ponytail casually, and a pair of plump ***** on her chest are simply luxurious. She has a slender waist and round buttocks, although she has a slightly worse appearance than Xiao Yu. However, this fierce devil's figure is extremely coveted by men. In the short time of the introduction, Ning Luo has been able to see that the young people who have passed the test, many people's eyes, are just like nothing. Vaguely swept across the pair of waves in front of this woman's chest. If Xiao Yu is D, then the girl in front of me should have E. Xiao Yu intimately pulled Shui Ni, and looking at the expression on her face, it was obvious that the two had a very good relationship. They are all from my clan. This is Zuner. Hey, pretty, right? But you are not allowed to play her idea. People won't be interested in you. This is Xiao Mei, and it's also very good. This is my brother, Xiao Ning, this. When his eyes turned to the lazy-faced Ning Luo, Xiao Yu turned his head, bit the ear of the woman named Shui Ni, and whispered, "He is the Ning Luo I told you before." The eyes were swept over Zuner and Xiao Mei first. Shui Ni's eyes lighted, and she exclaimed, "Wow, there are so many little beauties in your family. If you enter the Chinin Academy, don't let those male cattle be fascinated. It's weird to be fascinated." Ning Luo. After the amazement, Shui Ni was taken aback, staring at Ning Luo in amazement. Is this the Ning Luo you are thinking of? She looks pretty handsome. Whoever is thinking about it, I don't have it. Xiao Yu immediately denied. Thank you for the compliment. Ning Luo smiled slightly. Little brother, or come and fall in love with my sister. Shui Ni looked at Ning Luo and said. At this time, Zuner hugged Ning Luo's arm and smiled and said, Sister Shui Ni, brother Ning Luo has someone he likes in his heart, so don't take his idea. Let go of my brother. Nolan Yanran shouted immediately. HMPH, I won't let it go. Xiao Zuner said, holding Ning Luo's hand. Nolan was so angry that he grabbed Ning Luo's Ning Y hand directly. Shui Ni is full of black lines. She did not expect this Ning Luo to be so popular. Don't play, I want to take them to the test. Xiao Yu laughed and cursed while pushing away the treasure. Hee, let's go, come with me, and I will take you there. She changed her face and put away the water vapor in her eyes. Shui Ni just about to turn around, her footsteps suddenly stopped. She turned her head and smiled. Oh, yes, let me tell you that Rob is also in the recruiting team this time, and on the way here, I heard that he has been promoted to a 4-star fighter. Hearing the words, Xiao Yu's smiling face suddenly sank, and said impatiently, why is that nasty guy also here? Isn't it to meet our Xiao Yu beauty? People think about it day and night when they come along this way. Shui Ni said teasingly. A few people approached the green big tent, and saw that in the invigorating shadow of the tent, more than a dozen men and women were clustered into several small groups and chatting with each other. Seeing their casual look here, they must be the same as Shui Ni, all belong to the students of Chinin College. Out of the shadows, more than 24 young men and women are sitting on the ground under the scorching sun. Although sweat flows on their faces due to the high temperature, their expressions are full of restraint. It seems that they have just passed the peripheral test, newborn. In the tent, a few girls chatting suddenly looked up at Xiao Yu and the others who were walking slowly. They couldn't help but surprise. A group of women came over with a smile, and immediately surrounded Xiao Yu with a chirping smile. Keep making trouble. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.